There will now be a moment of silent prayer and meditation. I will also ask members to observe a moment of silence in honor of Mayor Gertrude Troppe, who was one of the parliamentarians in this House in the beginning of our democratic parliament. May we be seated. Order, honorable members. I would like to take this opportunity before the business of the House today to welcome the new designated Chief Whip of the opposition, the MK Party, Ms. T.C. Makubela. Order. Order. Honorable members, can we be in order? I will now order. Honorable members, there is only one item on the agenda. That was a welcome, not an agenda item. I think in future, for all the parties, I will just request that when there is such changes, they just wait for one day so that I can be both speaker and a chief whip. I'm sure when that happens, no one will have a debate on that matter. Honorable Skosana, what is it?
No, thank you. Thanks for congratulating our new chief whip. And I'm going to congratulate the maiden speech from Dr. Korenov today. Thank you.
You are very naughty and out of order. There is no maiden speech of Honorable Korenov in this House. There is only one item on the order paper, which is the questions addressed to the President. There are 4 supplementary questions on each question. Parties have given an indication of which questions their members wish to pose as supplementary questions, but also members have indicated, some of them, where there are other members who will be taking the question on behalf of the main member who had asked the question. Adequate notice was given to all parties for this purpose. This was done to facilitate participation of members who are connecting to the sitting through the virtual platform. The members who will pose supplementary questions will be recognized by the presiding officers. In allocating opportunities for supplementary questions, the principle of fairness, among others, have been applied. If a member who is supposed to ask a supplementary question through the virtual platform is unable to do so due to technical difficulties, the party whip on duty will be allowed to ask the question on behalf of their member. When all the supplementary questions have been answered by the President, we will proceed to the next question on the order paper. The first question has been asked by Honorable M. Tuli. The question is given, it's that the global transition from greenhouse gas emissions to renewable energy presents an opportunity to the Republic as a mineral-rich country to better leverage its resources. What concrete steps will be taken by government to reform resource taxation in line with the World Bank report that government only captures about 40% of revenue that it can potentially collect from natural resources? Honorable Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, honorable members. Any company that extracts a mineral resource in our country is required to pay the South African government a mineral royalty. This is because mineral resources are finite and cannot be replaced. So it is therefore important that a tax or a royalty should be levied. While it is always good to review existing policies against national priorities, there is no intention at this stage to reform the current mineral royalty regime as it is seen to work. The honourable member raises the issue of resource rent taxes. Such taxes aim to ensure that companies extracting minerals pay a larger share of their profits to government whenever profits are high. And this is a relevant issue. South Africa's mineral royalty regime incorporates an element of the principle underlying resource tax rents. And this royalty rate is applied to the sales value of a mineral and is determined by a formula that varies to profitability as well as to whether the mineral has been refined or unrefined. When a mineral is refined, more taxation is paid. There is a minimum rate to ensure that even if profitability is low, the country is still reimbursed for resources that are extracted. In this way, government collects more corporate tax revenue and mineral revenue, royalty revenue rather, as well as other taxes. During the commodity booms, this leads to a higher level of taxation. Statistics from the South African Revenue Service show that mineral royalties doubled from 14.2 billion to 28.5 billion between 2020/2021 and 2022/2022. And this was largely driven by the commodity boom that we experienced. They remained elevated in the year 2022-2023 before dropping to almost 16 billion rand in 2023 and 2024, indicating that companies were not during that period as possible as they were the year before. In addition to the payment of mineral royalties, mining companies, like other companies, contribute to national revenue through payment of corporate taxes, that is income tax. They also contribute through capital gains tax whenever they dispose of either their assets or even their mineral rights as well. And they also, of course, pay their VAT and other related taxes that have to do with the employment of people that work for the company. So mining companies also make contributions in a variety of other ways, particularly through their various local taxes or local contribution with regard to their local development plans. In the past financial year, the mining industry paid 14% of all corporate taxes in South Africa. Earlier this month, Cabinet adopted a critical mineral strategy for our country, which places a sharper focus on domestic mineral value addition. The strategy itself aims to maximize our country's potential, particularly in the global market for critical minerals, and particularly in those countries, in our country's just energy transition, and the ones for which the country holds competitive or comparative advantage. Now, this strategy aims to ensure that South Africa derives greater benefits from its mineral wealth through beneficiation, through localization, and from the employment of the people who work for those companies. So we do have a regime of taxation that is broad, that is quite diverse, that enables us to extract as much taxation as we possibly can from various mineral activities, and also ranging from commodity to commodity, as well as whether value has been added or there's been refinement or hasn't been refinement. So that in itself presents a fairly robust and forward-looking taxation process, which the Cabinet has also enhanced, particularly when looking at the critical minerals strategy that we have adopted. Thank you, Speaker.
Siyabonga Mongameli. Umbuzo lo isichibiyelo uzawukwenziwa ngu-Honorable Dlakude emele umnumzane uNtuli.
Ngiyabonga Mengameli kule mpendulo yakho losinikete yona kulendlo. Futhi siyakubonga ukuthi nahulumende uyazuza kulama royalties latholakalago ngaletimbiwa lesinato. Kepha siyakholelwa ekutheni Mongameli kuningi lokhu uhulumende la ngasakwenda ekuthenini live lizuze nibantu baseningizimu Afrika lizuze ekuthuthukiseni umnotho walelive. Mongameli kuletimbiwa letimbiwako kunaleto siyabona ukuthi qhubekela embili ekuthenini kube kunenshisakalelo yokuthi titholakale letimbiwa letisetshenziswa ekwakheni bomakhalekhikhini naleti moto tagezi lesitibonako letikhona kanye futhi nema-computer lawa endiwako lama-computer. Ngabe ngutiphi taba leti hulumende latawutenda ekutheni kuthuthukise umnotho waseningizimu Afrika futhi nokuthi leto timbiwa letinzuzo letitholakalako tibuya futhi tilekelele uhulumende ekutheni athuthukise umnotho walelive nekuthi futhi kukhuliswe lowo mnotho walelive. Ngiyabonga Somlomo.
Ngiyabonga Mongameli.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. For us to extract more value out of our minerals, particularly from our critical minerals, it is important that we do focus on the strategy that we've already put in place, that of adding value to our minerals, of beneficiation, and to a large extent of localization as well, to ensure that beneficiation or adding value happens as close as possible to where our minerals are extracted, so that the people who are in the vicinity of where extraction takes place benefit, and they see themselves benefiting from the whole value chain that is involved in mineral extraction. We're pleased to say that this approach and strategy has become broadly accepted, it having been propagated a few years ago and having been spread around by various government leaders and by various organizations in our country. The message has been sinking. And we say this because even our counterparts in other parts of the world now do believe that where there are minerals that need to be extracted, it should not be a case of just carting rock, sand, and dust out of those areas to their own markets. And a number of them do now appreciate that there should be value addition where the minerals are extracted. So when it comes to those critical minerals, we believe that the benefit that will go to the people in the local areas and indeed to the country is quite phenomenal. As they who buy our minerals gain financially and through other interests, we should also be able to gain as much as possible because we are the owners of the minerals. Ndithemba ukuthi sitayenta njalo ukuthi ive lethu likwazi ukuthi lithole intuthuko ukuya phambili uma singayenta onke lezi zinto okhuluma ngazo. Ngiyabonga.
Siyabonga Mongameli. Umbuzo wethu ozolandela uzobuzwa lunga lehloniphekile uMnumzane uZondi.
Ngibonge, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there seems to be a misunderstanding of the World Bank report that gave this figure of 40%. The figure is a combined figure from all Southern African countries, not just South Africa, and obviously it differs from country to country. More importantly, the same World Bank report that says governments could improve their revenues by adopting better policies, implementing reforms, and promoting good governance. The new Mineral Resources Development Bill gives considerable powers of discretion to ministers. We know that discretionary powers, instead of rules that are specifically prescribed in legislation, amount to legislative uncertainty, which in turn amounts to bad governance, which is one of the major disincentives to investment. Will the President commit to reducing ministerial discretion where he is able to, and rather commit only to signing bills that will actually increase investments and jobs? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Siyabonga Mongameli.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, Honorable President. There is a point of order. Honorable Mente, what is your point of order?
Thank you very much, Speaker. There are members on the platform that are waiting to be accepted. Since we started, they are still waiting on the lobby.
Thank you. Can our IT please ensure that we allow all members on the platform? Thank you. Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Zondi is absolutely right. The World Bank report is not specific to South Africa. It seeks to address the situation as it prevails in the rest of our continent and specifically in sub-Saharan Africa or Southern Africa. So we are sort of clubbed together with others, but our tax regime is quite unique and slightly different as well. But having said that, we should know that when the minister acts, ministers always and often act in consultation with their other colleagues. And there's this notion that ministers sometimes act like wild cards. They act of their own whim. Much of what is embedded in our legislation giving powers or certain discretions to ministers was done by this Parliament to empower ministers to take certain actions to enable processes of development to speed up and to move very quickly. So when ministers do act, they act in a representative capacity, they act in consultation with other colleagues in cabinet, and they don't act as rogue sole actors. So that needs to be put in context. And we must always believe that when ministers act, they act and seek to act in the interests of the people, because they have been elected by the people. Like all of us who are here, when we do act, it is assumed that we are acting in the interests of our people, as we were elected by those people to represent them and to take certain actions that will advance their interests. So I want to disabuse us of this notion that when ministers have a discretion, they will use the discretion to ends that will not benefit the people as a whole. And I think the default response or approach should always be they are acting in accordance with the law and also to advance the interests of our people until proven otherwise. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Enkosi Mongameli, ngoku ndizawucela ilunga lethu elihloniphekile libeke umbuzo walo oyisichibiyelo esithathu. Honorable Zibi.
Ndiyabulela, Madam Speaker. Mr. President, provincial and municipal road infrastructure takes a beating from heavy vehicles that service the mining industry. There are also collateral impacts on the environment at municipal and provincial level. Would the government consider ring-fencing some of the royalties revenue to be allocated to municipalities and provinces which have to deal with this burden in a way that other provinces do not have to? Thank you.
Mongameli.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Quite a novel idea, Honorable Zibi. I found that you're always full of ideas. Quite a novel idea. However, I do think that when Treasury and through the budget process allocates or makes allocations for towards local government and towards municipalities, they do take some of those issues into account. And when they make those allocations, I'm sure they will have made calculations about the burden that some of our local municipalities as well as provinces bear. However, the real answer is removing mining haulage from the road onto rail, because that should be our objective, because getting the rocks and the sand and soil that is mined out of our mines to where they should be processed should really be on rail rather than on the road, because rail is much more of a sustainable form of transport, and we should be returning all those goods to rail. The Premier of Northern Cape has raised this repeatedly and has actually demonstrated how the roads leading from Khartoum all the way to the sea become damaged on a repeated basis because of the haulage that is exerting too much pressure on their roads. So that is a matter that through Transnet we're looking at, and the reforms that Minister Creasy is engendering are aimed at ensuring that we strengthen Transnet, we're able to get Transnet to be able to repair and recalibrate its rail capacity so that we can haul more and more of the goods to where processing should happen and ultimately to where exports can happen for those goods. So much as your point is a good one and innovative, but I think the real answer is taking the haulage from wherever onto rail to where it should be going to, rather than on our roads. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable L.W. Mahlatsi.
Thank you, Speaker. President, greetings. With the World Bank highlighting that Southern Africa collects only 40% of its potential mining revenue, and considering the proposed implementation of a resource rent tax, what concrete, auditable mechanism and ring-fencing measures will be put in place to ensure that these additional funds are clearly directed towards uplifting impoverished rural communities through improved public services and infrastructure, rather than being diverted through corruption or elite networks?
Mr. President.
The assurance we should get from the better utilization of the funds or the revenue is really what we are about in terms of the priorities that we have set out for ourselves as a government of national unity. Our third key priority is to ensure that we have a capable state. We strengthen the arms of the state to be able to collect revenue, and to this end, SARS stands us in good stead, and with a further allocation of funding to SARS, SARS will be able to collect more, but the utilization thereof is then a responsibility, yes, of Treasury, but further than that, it is the various other divisions of government, be it at provincial level, be it at local government level, where the funding that SARS will have collected and allocated by Treasury should be utilized in a proper manner to avoid, yes, corruption, to avoid wasteful expenditure, and to ensure that in the end, we do provide the services that our people need with the funding that will have been collected or extracted through taxes from the various economic players, be they mining companies or others. So the increasing and improving the capability of the state is precisely what we are focusing on. And we've also decided that through our Vulindlela process, we're going to focus on strengthening local government and making sure that local government functions better. Minister who is in charge of cooperative governance, Minister Hlabisa, is in the process of working out the precise legislative architecture that is going to help us to strengthen local government and to ensure that we are able to have the type of local government that will look after the resources that will have been brought through from the revenue, through the allocations by Treasury, right to the places where execution takes place. So it is through strengthening government, and that is a key priority that we are focusing on. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to remind our members on the virtual platform to please name the gadgets that they're using so that the staff of Parliament would know who they are. Mr. President, the second question has been asked by Honorable M.V. Daniels. The question is about the specific legal and or statutory provisions that the government relies on when it classifies the Khoi and San, colored, Indian, and white South Africans as not being African in particular after more than 3 decades of democracy. Honorable the President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker and honorable members. We worked from the starting point that every South African is by definition an African. We are all equally of the African continent. And as declared in various iconic documents, like the Freedom Charter, South Africa belongs to all who live in it. Just as we are all equally South African, we have an equal claim to this country. As we work to overcome the racial and other divisions of the past, we have put in place what I would call legislation and other measures to redress the effects of discriminatory laws and practices and conventions that used to take place in this country. We have introduced legislation in areas such as land reform, employment equity, and economic empowerment. If we are to affirm and advance the position of people who were previously disadvantaged and who were previously held back, we need to use for this purpose alone the terms associated with our apartheid past. And not only is the use of such terms necessary to redress, it is also necessary to gauge the progress that we are making to reduce the stark differences in the material conditions between different population groups in our country. finding terms that are accepted by all South Africans is not straightforward as we would imagine. And there is bound to be debate about what is most appropriate and most acceptable. The broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Act, for example, defines Black people in the context of the Act as a generic term of Africans, Coloureds, and Indians. In the census and other statistical reports, Stats SA uses the terminology Black African, Colored, Indian stroke, Asian, and white. The use of race-based terminology will always be difficult for our country, like ours, for a country like ours, to accept as we work to put behind the racial injustices of the past. However, until we have reached our goal of equality for all people in our country, there will be circumstances when we need to use such terminology. Our responsibility is to ensure that our use of such terms ultimately makes the differences they refer to less and less important, until they are rendered meaningless and no longer serve any purpose. We are, as you would say, on a journey to moving away from the shadow of our horrible past. Our horrible past, which defined us as separate groups and separate entities. What is important for us is to see ourselves as South Africans and to see ourselves first and foremost as Africans, because it is this definition of being Africans that constitutes our being. We are African, first and foremost, and the rest has been utilized as a definition or description to divide us. And we therefore need to rid ourselves over time of those divisions. And I do think that we are on the journey towards doing that. It will take us time, but we are definitely on a journey. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Peterson on behalf of Honorable Daniels.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable President, has there been any impact assessments conducted to understand how this current classification system affects social cohesion and access to socio-economic opportunities among these groups? If so, what measures are being taken to address any disparities identified in such assessments? Thank you.
Mr. President.
My apologies, Honorable Speaker. I was trying to locate where the Honorable Speaker was.
Okay. The Honorable Speaker is next to
yes.
Honorable Sabisa.
So in the course of trying to see whether she was online, I should never say I have listened.
I can ask her, Mr.
Yes,
President, to repeat the question.
If you could, yeah.
Thank you.
And it has nothing to do with her height.
No, it does, President, then it's fine. Honorable President, has there been any impact assessments conducted to understand how the current classification system affects social cohesion and access to socio-economic opportunities among these groups? If so, what measures are being taken to address any disparities identified in such assessments? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable President.
I'm not aware of any specific assessment that has been done. And to the extent that assessment has been done, it's been broadly generalized to deal with people who are disadvantaged by the apartheid system, to measure the extent to which there has been progress. And a number of institutions have voiced their own disappointment about progress that has not been made. For instance, I know that the Black Economic Empowerment Commission and has often said that there hasn't really been movement on equity, employment equity, and they have looked at, for instance, the number of black people in the broad sense who occupy key either managerial positions. And I know, for instance, bodies such as the Black Business Council have also always complained that there aren't enough black people in the ownership ranks of the companies that are in our country, either listed on the stock exchange or whatever. So there have been those types of assessments. And of course, the lesser performance that we see does affect social cohesion, because it engenders a sense that we are not really moving with regard to ensuring that there is equality, and we are adhering to the dictates of our constitution to ensure that there is equality. So for us to engender social cohesion, to make sure that South Africans have a sense of belonging and a sense of ownership, we need to do much more in terms of getting those who were previously disadvantaged to get into ownership positions, to managerial positions. And the other level of inequality is how the women of our country have been relegated to the back. So that too is an important aspect of this whole process. We should not just only look at it as the race issue, but we should look at the gender issue, because patriarchy is still prevalent in our country, and much of the struggle was also about ridding our country of patriarchy as it was of ridding our country of racism. Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you. The next supplementary question will be asked by Honorable M.L. Likhanyane.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Motlhompe Morena President, madume ke makhura re a tlotjana. Na ke magato a mafe a mmuso wa rena wa democracy o ka tšeago go tšwetša pele morero wa go aga Afrika Borwa ya botee yeo e kopanego, yeo e hlathilwego ka gare ga lengwalo la Freedom Charter le molaotheo wa rena wa naga ya Afrika Borwa. Kudu ka ge nakong yeo re phelago mo go yona re bona boganka bja bonationale le mekgwanakgwana ya semorafe le kgethologanyo ya bong le tše dingwe. Ke a leboga.
Ke a leboga, Honorable Member. Mhloniphe President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The government continues to take steps to ensure that those who were previously disadvantaged are given opportunities to play their role in the economy of the country, not only in social matters or political matters, but also in the economy of the country. And it is really in the economy where the incidents of exclusion, incidents of racism are most felt, because it is in the economic sector where ownership was denied to black people. It is in the economic sector where control and management of the economic resources of our country were most felt by black people, those who were previously disadvantaged. And it is for this reason that the government is focusing through legislative means, through various executive acts, on ensuring that, yes, those who were previously disadvantaged are empowered and are given opportunities to play an important role in the economy of their own country, as they do play in the political sphere. So many steps and various steps are taken to ensure that, yes, we do live up to the aspirations that were set up, as you say, in the Freedom Charter. Megato e mentši e tšewang ke mmušo go etsetsa gore bao ba ne ba tshwaretswe kwa morago ba hwetše the opportunities mo ba ka kgonang gore ba kgone go tsenella gagologolo kudu-kudu batho ba bantsho ba tshwanang le rena gore re kgone go ba le tswelopele. And so ke di-program tse dintši ba bang ge ba di lwantšha di-program tseo a ba di rate ka gobane ba nagana gore go shebilwe batho ba itseng fela epša ha ba lebelela bona gore ba eme kae a ba ipone gore bona ba tlisitswe mo ba leng teng ka baka la melao ele ya kgale ya apartheid. Yaanong le rena re nyaka gore batho ba rena ba kgone go tswela pele ka tsela e bonagalang, ba kgone go ba le menyetla, ba kgone go ba le di-opportunities tse botse gore go be le tswelopele e bonagalang. Ha re sa etse bjalo go tlo ba le mathata a mantši mo South Africa. Gore re ska ba le mathata a mantši go tshwanetse re tshwanetse gore re nke magato ona ao go etsetsa gore re bule menyetla gore batho ba batsho ba kgone go kena ba šome ba kene mo economing ya lefatshe le. Ka gobane lefatshe le je ka Freedom Charter e boletse ke lefatshe la rena ka moka, a se lefatshe la batho ba bang ba banyane fela e hlile ba basweu, ke la rena ka moka na rena. Tama.
Thank you, Mr. President. Honorable Douglas.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. President, on what legal or moral basis does your government, in its language and policies, continue to classify colored, Khoisan, San, Indian, and other non-Nguni and African-speaking minority communities as not African in particular, despite their deep historical roots in this land? Will you admit, Mr. President, this is exclusionary and that this policy amounts to constitutional discrimination? And will you commit to ending all exclusionary language and policies by recognizing all oppressed peoples in government and constitutional definitions, including recognizing the Khoisan San as South Africa's Aboriginal people, along with all oppressed peoples regardless of race, whether colored, Indian, or other communities, as full indigenous Africans in both status and benefit under the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, which we signed in 2017? If not, why not? If so, when will you make this declaration? Thank you.
Honorable President.
Thank you. I see Honorable Douglas was reading continuously without remembering what I said at the beginning. Because if he had paid attention to what I said, I did say, Honorable Douglas, that yes, it is most unfortunate that the classifications that we inherited from apartheid have tended to continue. And our clear intent is that we should see those classifications of our people withering away. Because we are all Africans, we are all South Africans. There should never be a sense that there's any group that is more special than any other. We are all equal, and that is precisely what our Constitution dictates and declares. So as we move forward, as I said in my initial reply, as we move forward, our objective is to consolidate the unity of our people as one people, as Africans, because that's what we are, as South Africans, properly endowed with an identity of being who we are. And this government has no intention, no program that identifies one group over any other. It does, however, say those who were previously disadvantaged. As our Constitution says, in the Equality Clause, our Constitution is quite clear and explicit that measures need to be taken to bring about equality, to redress the imbalances of the past. So in our quest to redress the inequalities of the past, yes, measures will be taken, legislative and otherwise, to make sure that we show up and bring up those who were previously disadvantaged. And they include all those that you mentioned, all those as you said previously, oppressed people. That is our objective. And I'm happy to repeat what I said to you or to this House earlier, to yourself, when we are one-on-one, because I'll repeat it more clearly. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Reverend K.R.J. Mishra.
Thank you, Chairperson. Mr. President, I hate you well. But it is not correct that after 30 years of democracy, you still have, on paper, a racial classification, because it makes those who know they are African, as you just said, but they are not treated as Africans. Maybe because they're not dark enough. This has to be corrected. You cannot tell me, Mr. President, that you are not smart enough to can come with another idea rather than race classification. I understand that there is a challenge, there is a problem that has to be addressed, and government is trying to use that. But are you saying to me that the apartheid people, the apartheid government, was more intelligent than you? That they came up with that racial classification? You have to repeat what they said because you don't have another idea. So I'm pleading with you. You are smart, we know that.
Honourable member, your time
rather than
is
racial
up.
classification. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honourable President.
Thank you, Honorable Reverend Misha. Hey, what a one tlhompha mamuta. What I'm smart, ke a leboga. No, as I did say, Honorable Misha, that yes, we are still dogged by the classification of the past. And as it is, to rid ourselves of that form of classification, we do need to take steps to say this group and that group and that group were previously disadvantaged. And we therefore have to take steps to ensure that they are put in a better position when it comes to a whole range of areas, ownership, employment, and so forth. Because if we don't do that, then it basically means that we are accepting that everything is equalized, when we know very well that it isn't. And there are those who would say that, you know, you should no longer talk about what happened in the past. Forget what happened in the past, we must move on. I distinctly remember a British diplomat who said he lived in the US for 22 years. When I was on the state visit to the UK, he was an ambassador, part of the team that was chaperoning us. And he said, Mr. President, I understand the history of your country. He says, I lived in the US. I can still see, more than 100 years later, I can still see the effects of slavery. And it is therefore, he said, important that, yes, even the US government needs to take steps to make sure that it rids the United States of the effects of slavery. Because he says, I lived there for 22 years and I could see it every day. So those who would say, forget about apartheid, it was a bad dream, let's now all be united and move forward. In my view, it is like putting Band-Aid on a deep sore. That sore does need to be lanced, it needs to be properly repaired, and to repair it, you need to go to the depth of it and be able to do major repair work. And to do major repair work, you've got to name everything for what it is. Because unless you do so, we will never be able to rid our country of the legacy of the past. So that's what we need to do. So we therefore need to embark on programs. We therefore need to make sure that we rid our country of these classifications, in the end to see ourselves as South Africans and as Africans, less so as being colored, Indian or whatever, but just evolve a common identity. We can only do so by dealing with what caused the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move to the third question that has been asked by Honorable G. Michalakis. The question is about whether the President intends putting in place measures to shield South Africans from high cost of basic necessities in light of the increase of cost of the average household food basket by nearly 40% above the inflation rate.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable members, government recognizes the high cost of living facing South Africans, and we are deeply concerned about this. That is why in the statement of intent, with amongst the parties that constitute the government of national unity, this issue was singled out for special attention. Tackling poverty and the cost of living is one, as I said, of the three strategic priorities of the GNU and forms a central pillar of the medium-term development plan. South Africa's macroeconomic policy framework has been a key lever for shielding the poor from the high cost of living. The framework includes an inflation target, which has helped to keep prices low and stable and has been important in reducing average prices. When inflation is high, the purchasing power of ordinary people becomes weaker. Food price inflation has fallen quite significantly from 12.7% at the end of 2022 to 2.2% in March 2025. Headline inflation, which is a measure of the general cost of living, has also declined, averaging 4.4% in 2024, and inflation has even moderated further to 2.7% in March 2025. Food staples such as maize meal, brown bread, rice, hemp, milk, eggs, and other basic foodstuffs remain exempt from VAT, and this helps to cushion the lower income households in our country from the high prices. Our fiscal policy has been redistributive, prioritizing poor and low-income households. In the end, government spends around 60%, and with the current budget, Minister of Finance advises that it has edged up to 61% of its revenue on the social wage, which includes spending on social grants as well as education and health. In the budget presented by the Minister last week, social grants were increased at a rate higher than inflation. The provision of free basic services, such as water, electricity, for indigent households is an essential measure in reducing the high cost of living. It's been calculated that in other areas it would amount to between 400 and 600 rand that is given as a subsidy to our people. The bulk of local government's equitable share in this year's budget goes towards a free basic services package to over 11 million households in our country. Now, this package of free municipal services continues to be a key tool for reducing poverty and inequality and raising living standards and facilitating access to greater economic opportunities for many of our people. It is therefore essential that municipalities ensure that this support reaches all the households that need it. Now, I keep on urging municipalities, Honorable Speaker, to revamp their indigent registers. A number of municipalities have not been doing so on a regular basis. And the allocations that are then given to them are then diverted to a whole number of purposes. And I'm sure that the chief whip of the opposition party, having been a councillor in a municipality, will testify to this. I found this to be especially the case in Johannesburg, where the indigent allocation has not been as properly used as it should have been. Another measure to mitigate the impact of the high costs of basic necessities are a network of over 3,000 center-based food programs that were established by the Department of Social Development to provide nutritious food to poor people and vulnerable people. Now, these centers provide comprehensive services that include psychosocial support, welfare and developmental interventions while addressing the immediate need of providing access to nutritious food and on a daily basis. We're also working to address some of the structural factors that contribute to the cost of living, including the impact of apartheid spatial planning. We are therefore reforming our housing policies to provide affordable housing closer to economic centers, as well as improving the capacity of commuter rail services, making it in the end less expensive for people to get to work or to access services. So there is a whole plethora of interventions and measures that are being put in place and have indeed been put in place to lessen the cost of living for our people. And many of us will admit that the cost of living has just continuously gone high and high, and it is the responsibility of government to make sure that we do cushion the blow that our people suffer from higher costs of living on an ongoing basis. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Michalakis.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Mr. President, for reconfirming the GNU's commitment to shielding South Africans against the high cost of living. But ultimately, Mr. President, there is only one way for us to achieve this, and that is to grow our economy. In your State of the Nation address, you announced the 3% economic growth target to create much-needed jobs. But our growth rate has since been revised to approximately 1%, which I think you would agree is far below what our people need. A recent IMF analysis indicated that by cutting red tape for our entrepreneurs and halving business and labour market regulations, we can narrow our rate of inequality by up to 10% to grow our economy, to create jobs, and to achieve further economic redress. Mr. President, will you commit to a comprehensive cross-departmental review of all business and trade regulations and to instruct your ministers to repeal those regulations that stifle small businesses and do not add value to the economy and job creation? Thank you.
The Honourable President.
Honourable Speaker, Honourable Michalakis, you and I are ad idem on this matter. If you have listened very carefully, and I've been told that you are a very careful listener, if you have listened carefully, you will recall that this is a matter that I've raised on a number of occasions. Now, you want a commitment from me. Be careful what you ask for, because you may get it, because that's precisely what ministers in the GNU government are being directed to focus on, to reduce the regulatory burden. And all of us will admit that our country is overburdened with regulations. We've got tons and reams and, pages of regulations for everything. And I often say sometimes it was moving the pendulum from one end, which was apartheid, and we moved it all the way to wipe out the ravages of apartheid. And so the pendulum moved from left to right without resting in the middle. And what we should have done is to get the pendulum in the middle so that we don't have the extremes of what we inherited or what we thought we are correcting. So therefore, in the 7th administration, the process has to be every department must look at its regulatory framework, and those regulations that militate against growth, those regulations that impede our growth movement forward quickly should be reviewed, and those that will need this House to review, either in the form of laws or regulations, should be brought here with clear arguments of why they need to be amended. So this regulatory review process is what I'd like all of us in the government to be about, so that we have speed of execution of various interventions that we have. We've got big dreams. We've got a medium-term development plan that engenders us to do many things of an innovative nature fast, but we now need to focus on what is going to hold us back from doing precisely that. So you and I are in agreement, but be careful what you ask for, because you will get it. Thank you.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Sapu.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. President, in reference to the recent stats issued by Stats SA on the issue of unemployment, which reveals that 60% of the 32% of unemployment are young people, I want to check, President, what are the immediate government interventions to address the issue of high rate of unemployment for young people in this country? Linked to that, President, what is the government interventions to assist rural provinces like your Eastern Cape to attract investors, for them to grow their economy, and for them to enable MSMEs, which are the sector that has a capacity to create massive jobs? I wanted to check that, President. Thank you very much.
The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Precisely the last point that you raised, what measures and interventions are we taking to assist small, medium enterprises? Our Department of Small Business is committed to assisting small, medium enterprises as much as we possibly can. And we've come up with a number of interventions, grants and loans and assistance programs, such as increasing their level of capacity to learn new ways of doing business, and also assisting the sectors, the various sectors, to be well geared for economic growth and job creation. So our focus really is to assist as many of our entrepreneurs as possible. And to this end, we're launching funds, the Transformation Fund that we've launched, and a number of other funds through CIFA and CEDA, all that we are doing to assist our small, medium enterprises. And with regard to staving off the high level of unemployment, a number of programs are underway, but in the end, we've got to grow our economy, and growing our economy requires that we should make South Africa an investable economy, where those with money can come to South Africa and say, we want to invest. Current companies in our country should not feel hamstrung with regard to investment. This morning, we were having the infrastructure symposium, where we were reaffirming the commitment that the Minister of Finance made here, that we are, over the next 3 years, going to pour in R1 trillion in infrastructure. And we did say this morning that infrastructure is the flywheel that is going to enable our economy to operate at a higher level, as to be able to create jobs, not only in construction and maintenance, but also in the other related subsectors, such as manufacturing and many others. And it is through a commitment such as this that we'll be able to demonstrate a clear ambition on our part, which it is, that we intend to grow the economy and inject needed funding. Now, this morning we said that whilst the government will commit to R1 trillion over the medium term, we would like to attract R3 trillion from the private sector into the economy. If we can, over the next 3 years, pump R4 trillion into our economy, it is bound to have a positive impact. And to this end, we have come up with a number of funding, innovative and new funding methods to be able to entice the private sector to invest in infrastructure, in our economy. And it was very interesting that this time round, the symposium was oversubscribed. It had many, many more people who were in attendance. Minister McPherson and Deputy Minister Zikalala were quite overjoyed by the attendance of the various people who are either financiers, construction companies, material suppliers, and developmental agencies and all that. So that is showing a very positive indication that there is interest in our infrastructure build ambitions, and they are being backed up no longer just by statements or paper. They are now being backed up by our clear intent to ensure that projects that we've spoken about are now executable. And we've been able to attract a number of people, learned people, engineers and various scientists, to make sure that the projects are project ready and they are fundable, and we are able to see a great deal of progress. With that, Honorable Sapo, we will be able to make sure that, yes, we do generate growth, because it is when the economy grows that we will be able to lower the incidence of unemployment in our country. Thank you very much.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Matwe.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. President, what you just said now is not different from what you've been saying over the years. The reality is that your own government has not grown this economy by more than 2%. We're talking today, your own government revised the economic growth that they put last month from 1.8 to 1.4. So there is no economic growth that is going to happen in the medium term. You have not been able, President, to reduce the high levels of unemployment. You have not been able, President, to shield the poor from the high cost of living. We've seen the Minister of Finance now attempting to increase the fuel levy, which will deepen the crisis of our country. So we saw you taking a trip to the US last week, and we are asking ourselves, what strategic economic interventions are you trying to lock in? Because you are saying you went there to mend relations. How is your trip going to assist us, President?
Thank you, Honourable Member. Your time has expired.
And President, you dismally failed, Deputy Speaker, to finish, to protect the constitutional ruling that
Honourable
said
Member,
that
your
the kill the
time
Boer,
has
kill the farmer
expired.
chant is not,
Honourable Matwe, your
doesn't
time has
constitute
expired.
to hate speech and does not incite
Honourable Matwe,
violence. So,
Honourable Matwe, I am now cautioning you. You are going beyond your time, and you are not
That's fine.
acting. Honourable Matwe, Honourable Matwe,
You have to protect me.
Honourable members, please give me the opportunity. Honourable Matwe, you are now 40 seconds over your time.
Deputy Speaker, I was disrupted by these people.
No, Honourable Member,
So,
there
President,
was
you failed
no
to protect
interruption.
your
Honourable
constitutional court.
Matwe, will you please
Unlike President
sit down?
Thabo Mbeki,
Honourable
when he had
Matwe,
the
I
same
am now
platform,
cautioning you.
protected the constitution
Honourable
of this
Matwe,
country.
will you please leave the chamber? Honourable Matwe, I have been cautioning you a number of times. Now I'm asking you, because you are ignoring and disrespecting the chair. Honourable Matwe, I have asked you to please leave the chamber.
Chairperson, you
Yes,
only
she
caution
must
her
kindly
once.
leave, Speaker.
How many
Leave
cautions
the
must you give a member before you eject them from the
3,
house?
which I have.
You cautioned her once. You
No,
said, I'm
I did
cautioning
not.
you.
I
And
said
then she
caution
sat
3
down.
times. No, after 46 seconds. Honourable Motwe, please leave the chamber. That is my instruction. If you do not want to, Sergeant at Arms, could you please assist Honourable Motwe?
Deputy Speaker, is it because he was touching you on the Americans? You can't do
Honourable
that.
Sergeant at Arms.
No, Deputy Speaker, that's not how we operate. No, that's not how we operate. You want the member. You only just told her that she has spoken over 40 seconds. And after that, she must leave the house. That's not how we work. And for that
That's not how you
other
work in the
members have been
EFF, not in
speaking
Parliament.
here over the
Honourable
time, and you did not stop them.
Honourable Mente, I am also cautioning you. That is now the second one. Honourable Mente and the Sergeant at Arms. I am now calling the Sergeant at Arms.
Doesn't change the fact, Deputy Speaker, you can remove us from this house.
You need to
The
follow
president
the
has failed to protect
rules
the
of Parliament
constitutional
when I
ruling,
speak.
which says kill the boer, kill the farmer is a
please come and
chant,
assist
and
the
therefore
Honourable
doesn't
Motwe.
constitute to a hate speech. That's why you are sitting on that chair.
You are trying very
Deputy
hard to
Speaker. Otherwise
impress
you will not
Julius
be
on our
here.
time.
If that was
Stop
true.
it and go out.
I fuck off when
Not in an auction of impressing Julius Malema, man. Can you go out? You don't have time.
you are scared
And
of
you are
white
quiet. You are
people.
not throwing that
Honourable
one
Speaker.
out.
We are worshipping white people here.
Honourable Deputy Speaker.
You are scared of white people when I speak. You are scared of white people.
Honourable Deputy Speaker.
I'm not recognizing anyone now. You may not, in terms of the rules, intervene at any point whilst a
But
member
Deputy
is
Speaker, our
asked
hands
to...
are up here. Can you recognize us as well?
I have just ruled, Honourable Mkalipi, you should know the rules, that whilst someone is being removed, that you may not interrupt the process, because then you are also in breach of the rules. So I am cautioning you, Honourable Mkalipi.
You want all members of the EFF out
Honourable
of that house. because you-
Mkalipi, I am cautioning you now for the second time.
But Deputy Speaker, why are you
Honourable
saying you are
Mkalipi, that
questioning
is
me while
now
I'm
the
quiet?
third time that I'm cautioning you. The table,
But I'm
please
quiet.
remove
Why are you calling my name while I'm
Honourable
quiet?
Mkalipi from the
Hey,
platform.
keep quiet. You are not quiet when I'm calling. Keep quiet.
Honourable
Hey,
Piri.
when I shut up, when I Piri, shut up.
You are scared of white
Honourable
people,
members, we will
Deputy
now
Speaker.
proceed. Honourable
You are scared of
members.
white
Honourable
people.
Deputy Speaker, can I raise
Very
a point of
scared.
order?
Honourable members, I'm now cautioning you on the platform. You have not been recognised. And we will now proceed. Honourable Mkaula, order. Honourable Mente, what is your point of order?
The point of order is on you, Speaker, and your unfairness. Honorable Piri there on the platform he has been speaking. You have never questioned him. You have never thrown him out.
Honourable
Yet
Mente.
Mkalipi, you have thrown her out. For what good reason?
Honourable Mente, focus. I
No,
have
you are
cautioned the
unfair.
Honourable
You are
Piri.
unfair. I'm very focused. You are
Honourable
unfair.
Mente, I am now cautioning you for
She's
the
only
third time.
concentrating on EFF members.
Honourable member
You're
of
only
the MK.
concentrating on EFF members.
Honourable member. Honourable member, I have made a ruling and you do know what you have to do. Once a ruling has been made, you can go to the Speaker and then to the Rules Committee. Honourable President, please proceed.
Honourable Speaker, I just have a point of order.
Thank you, Honourable.
You can't have a point of
Deputy
order.
Speaker.
The ruling has been made. The ruling has been made.
Honourable members on the platform, order.
May you grant me, Honourable.
Honourable Totete, I'm going to remove you from the platform now. Please remove the member from the platform. Honourable Mente, I have now cautioned you a number of times. I am going to next time now ask you to leave the chamber. The same honourable member of the MK. Honourable member of the MK, do you know the rules that if a ruling has been made on the same matter, you cannot raise another point of order. So is this a new point of order? Honourable Member, then you go to the Rules Committee with your complaint. And please do, Honourable Member, order. We will now proceed, Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I've now forgotten what the question was. But well, there was a question. I guess I need to respond to it. I think the honourable member's question was, what is it that we sought to achieve by going to the United States? And I think that does require an answer. We were very clear.
Order, Honourable Members, Honourable Mkaula. Honourable Member, I'm not recognising you now. Honourable President, please proceed.
Thank you. The issue of relations between South Africa and the United States was an issue that occupied many people's minds in our country, and many had raised concerns about the deteriorating relationship between our two countries, having recognized the important role that both our countries play in each other's economy, apart from the various political relations, diplomatic relations, and we realized that the impact on our country's economy would be adverse unless we were able to repair or reset the relationship between our two countries. And to this end, in a telephone conversation with President Trump, when we were discussing other global matters such as Russia and Ukraine, we agreed that we should meet. And it was to this end that we traveled to the United States with a delegation that all of you would have seen as it was broadly televised. We really had three objectives. The first was to reset the relationship between two trading partners, partners that have had dealings over many years and where we invest in each other's economies. The United States has some 601 companies that are invested in South Africa, and we similarly have a number of companies that have invested in the United States. A number of our jobs, some of the sectors that would be affected would be agriculture, the auto sector, and the steel and aluminum sector, and a number of other sectors that make machines, and the mining sector, where we sell critical minerals to the United States, would be adversely affected if the relations were not straightened out. So it was to this end that we were motivated to reset that relationship. The second objective was to set up a process of engagement between the United States and South Africa. There had hitherto been a process of disengaging, where we were no longer really engaging at a government level to deal with issues that governments normally deal with on an ongoing basis. And we wanted to engage on tariffs, on investments, and related matters. And the third objective was to discuss the G20 and to highlight the important role that a country like the United States, which is the largest economy in the world, plays in the activities of the G20, which we are so deeply immersed in and having the responsibility of leading, and that it's important for the United States to engage with the G20 process and ultimately to entice the leader of the United States to come to the Leaders' Summit at the end of the year. So broadly, those were our objectives, and there could be a fourth one, which would be just the promotion of investment by American companies and South African companies in each other's economies. So we do believe that we achieved those objectives. The engagement with the American government has started. Soon after we left Washington, the engagement has now commenced, and there are discussions that are happening in relation to tariffs, in relation to investments, and we believe that we have reset the relationship despite what we could have seen on television. We were able to have a much more meaningful discussion and meeting with President Trump and his representatives during the quiet room where we had lunch together and had meaningful exchanges on a number of issues. And we do believe that the engagement will continue through the G20 process. So that was the main objective of the visit, and we do believe that the United States continuing to play such a big role in the life of our economy, it was necessary and important for us to go and engage with them, because many of our people's jobs are dependent on our economic dealings with the United States. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Khadebe.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Your Excellency, given the sharp increase in food prices and its impact on household well-being, particularly in rural and underdeveloped areas, what role does the President envisage for the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development in supporting subsistence farming and small-scale agricultural initiatives as a buffer against food price volatility? Thank you.
The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. The issue of the rising prices in food items is a concern for all of us, but we've seen how the lowering of inflation has had a rather positive impact on a number of food price items, and so that pleases us. But at the same time, our VAT exemption on staple foods also helps to cushion the poor against rises of prices in a number of others. But we can't stop there. We do need to embark on other interventions to assist our people to be productive when it comes to agriculture, to land reform. As it is now, our land reform process continues. The Minister is continuing to hand over certificates and to engage with beneficiaries of land reform and to encourage them that rather than take money compensation, they should rather stay on the land, and that we will embark on assistance programs to help them to turn the land that they inherit or get into productive centers. The Department of Agriculture is also assisting a number of farmers and targeting a number of subsectors of the agricultural, of other challenges like foot and mouth diseases, and also helping your small and medium farmers or emerging farmers, and also in grain production, in vegetable production. A lot of programs are underway to assist in that regard. And we are embarking on a plethora of programs. This we see as a great opportunity to bring in many small-scale farmers. You might recall that during COVID, we were able to reach more than 24,000 farmers that we assisted during that period with vouchers which enabled them to get seeds and implements and fertilizers. And that showed us that it is possible to assist many farmers indeed with various interventions or through various interventions. And this is a program that we've tested, and we're now utilizing even technology to ensure that we are able to spread all these assistance measures more broadly. So it is an area of focus, and we intend, as led by Minister Steenhuisen and Minister Nyoncho, to attack or to deal with a number of interventions that are prevalent in their two ministries, particularly as we separate the ministries. They now have clear line of sight of what needs to be done to assist our people, and also to make sure that we continue assisting those and supporting those and creating a conducive environment for those who are the food producers of our country, both small and big, throughout the country. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Question 10 has been asked by the Honourable C.P. Mulder. The question is, considering the basic minimum programme of priorities of the Statement of Intent for the 2024 Government of National Unity, which identifies the importance of rapid, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, the encouragement of fixed capital investment and industrialisation, along with job creation as key focus areas for the 7th administration, what new economic policies have he and the Cabinet developed since the formation of the GNU on July 3, 2025, to achieve the specified focus areas? The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. The Medium-Term Development Plan, it really is the main plan that the government has put in place to foster economic development. And the main elements of the economic strategy that are outlined in the Medium-Term Development Plan are embedded in that plan, and the apex priority of the MTDP is to achieve inclusive growth and job creation. That is the key focus. This plan is underpinned by a stable macroeconomic framework which creates a conducive environment for long-term investment. To achieve higher levels of economic growth, we are in many ways undertaking massive investment in infrastructure and upgrading our maintenance activities. Now, in the budget speech delivered by the Minister, he confirmed that public infrastructure spending, as I said earlier, in the next 3 years will amount to 1 trillion rand. He noted that allocations towards capital investment remains the fastest growing area of spending, ensuring that we use our resources to foster and to support growth. And with this, public spending on infrastructure will be complemented by the reforms that we are and have embarked upon to the regulatory framework to enable public-private partnerships, as well as streamlining infrastructure financing and project preparation mechanisms to be firmly installed and implemented. Now, a further pillar of our economic strategy is to support sectors with high potential for growth and job creation. This includes growing our key export sectors like mining and agriculture, while developing new industries such as renewable energy, where we are continuing to distinguish ourselves, electric vehicles, and green hydrogen, and harnessing our unique advantages in the green economy. And we are strengthening the capacity of the state, which is another key pillar of the medium-term development plan, including turning around the financial and operational performance of state institutions and improving delivery at local government level. We are focusing on how we should be able to strengthen local government. And we are working in partnership with business and alongside other social partners to promote employment through public and social employment, where work experience and training initiatives are made available to those who participate in our public work programs. Our public work programs are aimed at bringing in not only young people, but people who are also beyond 35, to be able to give them either skills or training possibilities so that they are able to support their own livelihoods. Finally, we are implementing structural reforms to increase efficiency as well as competitiveness while addressing constraints on job creation. Now, the second phase of Operation Vulindlela, with the first phase having been quite successful, is an important part of our strategy to drive more rapid and inclusive economic growth, and also to make sure that we implement this second phase with a great deal of vigor, having learned from the experience of implementing Vulindlela 1. This will be achieved by sustaining the momentum that has already been developed and following through on the implementation of the existing reforms that are beginning to demonstrate their full impact. And this includes, for instance, transforming the electricity sector to achieve energy security, creating a world-class logistics system to support export growth, investing in water infrastructure to ensure water security, and to reform the visa regime or system to attract skills as well as investment. Now, the reform agenda is being expanded into new areas to improve the performance of local government and to create dynamic and integrated cities that will be able to lead economic activity and also to harness digital public infrastructure as a driver of growth and inclusion. Now, as part of this next phase of reform, Cabinet recently approved the ambitious digital transformation roadmap to leverage digital public infrastructure as being part and parcel of our growth program, focusing on digital identity, digital payments, data integration, and digital services as well. Now, this may sound very ambitious, but we are determined as the Government of National Unity to execute all this. Now, at the direction of Cabinet, the Presidency and National Treasury are working to develop an integrated economic growth strategy which will bring together these interventions in a coherent, focused, and carefully prioritized manner. We will soon be having that discussion, and in the end, this strategy discussion will bring together, as I say, the various threads that we have identified to foster economic growth in our country. There is absolute agreement within the Government of National Unity that achieving growth and job creation is our most important and urgent priority. There's no other priority that is as important as this one, and we will be focusing on all this in all its ramifications that include, for instance, making our country safer, dealing with criminality, dealing with corruption, dealing with wasteful expenditure, and all of this will then lead to engendering the growth that our economy deserves. I thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
The first supplementary question, before I proceed, Honourable Paulson, on what point are you rising?
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, it's not a point, but to my knowledge, there are members here and there are chamber staff What is the status of those two gentlemen there in front? What do they do here?
They are part of the gallery.
Not in the gallery, they're in the chambers.
Honourable Paulson, I will
Gallery's
ask.
over there.
Honourable
What are they doing in the
Paulson,
chambers?
we will inquire. We will inquire.
But why do you,
Honourable
but why
Paulson.
were you so arrogant? Couldn't you say that instead of telling me that that's not the
Well,
gallery?
because I believe they're
The
in
gallery's
gallery.
over there.
Honourable Paulson, I have now said we will inquire. We will now proceed. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mulder.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Thank you, Honourable President, for a very comprehensive reply, an impressive reply, making it very clear all the steps that are being taken by government. And if there's one thing that the Government of National Unity, I think, have in common is the commitment to economic growth. And a lot of things, the things that you mentioned this afternoon is in terms of Operation Vulindlela. And we accept that, and if I understand it correctly, it means to open the way, but the way is not open. There's a problem with the way, with all due respect. I want to say that if you look at the World Bank's report, it clearly indicates that the average growth at the moment for developing countries is around 4%. If you look at the top 10 African countries, the growth rates there vary between the lowest 5.9% to 7.9%. Even in terms of all the things that you have now mentioned this afternoon, your own Minister of Finance in the budget last week indicated that our current growth rate is 1.4, hopefully next year 1.6, despite all the programs, hopefully in the year thereafter 1.8%. Our unemployment is 32%. Something is wrong. There's a huge problem. And the problem, Honourable President, is that all the issues that you mentioned, all the wonderful programs and the investments, as far as I'm concerned, are based on the current economic policy of government, the underlying economic policy. Now, that's why I asked the question specifically, are you prepared to take the initiative and to take the necessary steps to amend, to develop an economic policy that can make possible real economic growth in South Africa? Because that's what we need. If we don't have real economic growth, none of the programs that you've mentioned will be successful, none of them will be implemented. But that real new economic policy, as far as I'm concerned, needs to take a different approach with regard to certain basic things that I don't know if you're prepared to do that with regard to black economic empowerment, with regard to equity, employment equity.
Thank you, Honourable Mulder. Your time has expired.
Expropriation without compensation. Are you prepared to do that? Thank you, sir.
The President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I did say that the Government of National Unity is going to spend a considerable amount of hours in a number of days to come, just discussing the economic strategy and trajectory that we should pursue. Our ambition, Honourable Member, Dr. Mulder, is to make sure that our economy grows higher than what the projections are currently. That is our ambition. And the medium-term development plan gives the pointers of where we should be going. What the Minister of Finance also articulated on this platform also gives the pointers of where we are headed. And I'm rather surprised and taken aback when I hear that policies of black economic empowerment militate against the growth of our economy. That I find quite surprising, because I work from the starting point that our economy was held back over many years by the racist policies of the past. Those racist policies prevented all South Africans, or the majority of South Africans, to play a meaningful role in the economy of their own country. They were brought in, black people were brought in as hewers of wood and drawers of water. And they were just brought in as laborers. They were not even seen as consumers. They were not seen as active players in the economic landscape of our country. With democracy, what has now been happening and what we seek to see happening is the opening up of the economy, the broadening up of economic participation, which if you observe, Honorable Dr. Mulder, you will actually see, and it's right in your face. You know, in apartheid South Africa, if you looked, for instance, at adverts for commodities, you would never see a black person being made to advertise either soap or milk or anything. Today, every advert you look at has got black people, because it's now been realized that it is black people who are the consumers, and they are economic players. Now, those who would want black people just to play the consumer role are truly mistaken. Black people must play a productive role as well. So I am really baffled. I'm baffled by people who still hanker for policies of the past. And to have you, sir, saying black economic empowerment is holding our economy back goes completely against even what the World Bank says. Now, this I find quite surprising, because what is known very clearly as well is that, and a few years ago, the World Bank and the IMF came up with a report that one of the things that holds South Africa's economy back from growth is the level of concentration. Concentration because they said the ownership of the economy is in far too few hands. Ownership has not spread. That is what the World Bank and IMF said. And that is precisely what happens in other countries. When you go to other countries, you'll find the citizens. I mean, in Africa, it will largely be black people. Wherever you go in the world, it will be the citizens. Now, in our country, it was just the few privileged, and may I continue to say white people, who continue to own the means of production, who continue to own the productive economy of our country. Now,
we took them to America.
Now, this I find very worrying. I find it very worrying that we continue to have this notion that B-BBEE is the one that's holding our economy back. It is the partial and exclusive ownership of the means of production in our country that is holding this economy from growing. So, what we seek to do, as set out in the equality clause in our Constitution, to redress the imbalances of the past. If we accept that the ownership of our economy is imbalanced, the clause on equality in our Constitution seeks to undo that, to redress that. So therefore, ownership of our economy should be broadened. And I can tell you, Dr. Mulder, there's nothing that gives our people joy, particularly black people, as they go around and they find that this production facility is owned by a black person. It warms one's heart. It makes us feel so good, because we've come from a horrible past when that was not allowed by law, where people were arrested. If you wanted to set up an economic facility in town, you were put to jail. But today, we are saying all that must be put behind us. We must allow more and more people to play an important role in the economy of our country. And this is what baffles me by those who are opposed to black economic empowerment. I say, what do you want to see happening? Do you want to see black people continuing to play the role of laborers, drawers of water, hewers of wood, and consumers only? Why can't black people be made to own productive aspects of our economy? Why can't they be rich as well? That is what needs to happen. Because it is when they get to that level. Dr. Mulder, you look at the Afrikaners, the history of your people. If you look at the history of your people, they were held back by the English. And with later days, they were enabled. They became more and more economically empowered. And they became economically empowered due to the policies of apartheid, the laws that were put in place, the sweet deals that they were given, and they started getting more and more into being serious economic players. Why can't the same be done for black people? Why? And this baffles me. Really, I don't understand it, because to me that is the normal thing to do. You need, as a nation, to say, this group has been disempowered. It's been disempowered, we need to empower it. Like the approach we have now, the rural areas of our country have been disadvantaged, and we're seeking to direct more and more assistance and empowerment to the rural areas, so that the rural areas also come up. Now, anyone who will tell me that that is wrong, really, I think they must have their heads examined, because that cannot be the case. So, my answer, therefore, is our objective is to spread economic participation broadly. And I will hold on to the argument that the more we have previously disadvantaged people playing a role in the economy of their own country, the better it is. Because then we are able to bake a much bigger cake so that everyone participates in having the cake. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable President. Could I again ask the members on the platform to please make sure that your devices are muted? The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Makubela.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Your Excellency, Mr. President, you mentioned that the medium-term development plan responds to the objectives of the basic minimum program of the GNU. Correctly so, Mr. President. How then will you ensure that the government that you preside over, which is the government of national unity, ensures that the three main strategic objectives of the MTDP are correctly financed and there is adequate budget allocation towards the minimum program, which is aligned to the MTDP? Thank you.
The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. That is a very good question, particularly after the presentation of the budget. If you look at the budget as presented, it is a growth budget, much as a number of aspects or platforms have been scaled down. It is a growth budget. And a clear demonstration of why it is a growth budget is the allocation, for instance, for what we believe will drive the economy, the infrastructure spend. Over many years, our infrastructure spend has been going down and down, and wrongly so. And we've now made a clear commitment. And this has also been largely after doing quite a lot of research on finding new and innovative methods of funding infrastructure. We have for the longest time been held back by the constraints that we've always believed in, that the fiscus is so constrained that we cannot be more ambitious. Now we're becoming more ambitious and saying, yes, there are other and new funding methods. For instance, the minister spoke about launching an infrastructure bond, where we are going to be able to attract private investors to buy an infrastructure bond so that we can build now. And obviously we'll service the bond as we move on. And it becomes a bond that is traded, and there are other new methods also. Front-loading funding, there are PPPs that we will enter into, there are build, operate, and transfer processes that we will embark upon. So a plethora, or rather many, funding methods and opportunities are coming to the fore. And that is why we characterize this budget as a growth budget, and also a distributive budget, where we are able to distribute a little bit more to our people. We would have wanted to do much more if we had more firepower or better financial resources. So attainment of what we've set out in our statement of intent is precisely how we want to fund this budget and fund our ambitions going forward. And I do believe that we have the capability to do so. And our growth ambitions are beyond what is being projected now. We want to grow our economy at a higher level, and sitting down in the next few days as the Government of National Unity, to properly structure our real growth path and what we need to do, either to curb spending that is not necessary, to save more money, to channel resources into what is productive and what will have an impact, is precisely what we're going to be focusing on. So I think we are on a good path, a path that is going to lead to greater growth going forward. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Burke.
The President, you've answered the first part of my question relating to our ambition to exceed economic growth forecasts, which of course for the next 3 years averages 1.6%, according to Treasury. And we in the DA are committed to a GNU that does in fact grow the economy. So the balance of my question is whether you intend to drastically accelerate the policy measures that are pro-growth.
The Honourable President.
Honourable Burke, as you are being applauded for the question that I've already answered, the answer to the remainder of your question is yes, we are determined to foster policies that are going to promote growth. And that is the strength, in my view, of the Government of National Unity, because it brings together different viewpoints of 10 political parties working together to a common objective of growing the economy of our country. So I see us going beyond the statement of intent, buckling down with various parties that are also supportive of the work that is being done by the Government of National Unity, and focusing on growth, because in the end, growth is what really matters. It is the economic life of our people that really matters more than many other things that we keep talking about. So we are going to focus on policies that are going to foster growth. So I would say bring them on. Let those policies come on. And I'd like to hear more, especially from you as well, because you seem to be full of ideas. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Maimane.
Mo Presidente, ke a dumelana le wena gore maAfrika Borwa a sokola, bontsi ba bone ga ba bereki, ebile ikonomi ya rona ga ya gola ka tsela e tshwanetseng ka begotse ka teng. Ke amogele leeto la go ya ko Washington. Mo Presidente, potso ya ka ke given the fact that there's been no relatively new policy shifts in the last 10 years, despite Operation Vulindlela 1 and Operation Vulindlela 2 having read the medium-term development plan. What I want to know, Mr. President, is that post you coming back from the US, in 48 hours, the Minister of Communications tabled regulations that seem to do away with the equity aspect of BBBEE. Now, Mr. President, you and I both agree we need foreign direct investment. So what I want to understand from that position, that of the tabling of the new regulation, is whether the same will be extended to South African companies so that we can improve gross capital formation, because we can obsess about
Thank
GDP.
you, Honourable Maimane. Your time has expired.
Let's obsess about investment, Mr. President. So I want to know if you are changing
Honourable
that regulation.
Maimane, your time has expired. Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. We expect that our growth path going forward will be a combination of various initiatives, interventions, and without steering away from the key tenets of our Constitution. Our Constitution is very clear. We've come from a horrible past which we even address in our Constitution, in the Equality Clause, where we said we need to recognize what has happened. Our preamble speaks to that. Our Equality Clause is quite clear that in order to foster equality in our country, which is a noble objective, we need to take a number of measures, legislative and otherwise, that are going to redress the impact of what was done in the past. So as we move forward, we are going to need to address those terrible legacies of the past as we grow our economy. And what we seek to do is to grow an inclusive economy, not an economy that exclusively focuses on the growth of a particular group, but we want an inclusive economy that focuses on the growth of all and focusing on those who were right at the bottom of the step ladder, so that they too can move up to the top of the step ladder. So to do so, we will need to take into account where we come from, what our Constitution says, what our laws say, and be able to move forward in a very determined way. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Question number 11 has been asked by the Honourable Mente. Your point of order.
Yes, Deputy Speaker, we haven't received an answer on who are those gentlemen seated there in the chambers.
My apologies, Mr. President. Yes, indeed, I have just received it, so I will gladly read it to you. Those gentlemen are protectors, and that is indeed in the gallery, although not clearly delimited, and that will be done in future. Thank you. Honourable Mente.
No, Speaker, can we do a proper demarcation, because this side is the House. Anyone who's not a member sworn in can't be on this side of the House. They must go sit there. We're members of the House here. We've been searched there. We're not carrying any firearms. We're not going to shoot anyone. Can they go sit that side and not sit with us this side? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Dugmore.
But whose protectors are those, Deputy Speaker?
Honourable Pambu, I did not recognize you. Honourable Dugmore.
Thank you very much.
Please recognize me.
Honourable Dugmore is on the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, this is a point of order. I believe that you have provided an explanation, and I think that if there are further concerns about your point about demarcation, this is a matter that the Rules Committee can discuss. I really don't think it's an issue that needs to be dealt with now. The explanation has been given, and I think that's adequate.
Thank you, Honourable Dugmore. That is what my ruling would have been now, that this matter be taken to the Rules Committee. It can also be discussed at the Chief Whip's Committee. Chief
Honourable
Whip's Forum.
Speaker.
Honourable Maimane, is that a point of order?
It's a different matter, Honorable Speaker. It's just the President did not answer my question. He gave a similar response to the previous one.
Honourable Maimane, you know full well that it is the President's prerogative to answer the question in the way that he sees fit, and you can write to the President if you have any further clarity. Honourable members, I have now ruled on this matter. I'm not taking any. Honourable Chilinga, no. Honourable Member, this is now the second time that after every ruling I've made, you want to challenge the ruling. You know how to challenge the ruling. It is not here. Honourable Member, I do not recognise you any further. We will now proceed. We will now, Honourable Makola, Honourable Members, I have now ruled on this matter and I cannot entertain, in terms of the rules, I cannot entertain any other further comments on that particular matter. Honourable Member of the EFF, what is your point?
It's a separate matter, Speaker. You just said they are protectors. Who are they protecting? They are protectors of who? Didn't tell us.
They are the protectors of either the President or the Deputy President who is
So
here.
you don't know?
No, but you must be certain, Speaker.
You must be specific.
Pambu?
Are they
We don't know
protecting the
who are they
President or
protecting.
protecting the Deputy President? We can't just have people here in
Member,
Parliament
I'm not
and we
now
don't know
in
who
a
they are.
discussion with you. I can obtain whether they are indeed the President's
Please
protectors
obtain,
or
Speaker. Yeah, I
if
want
that
to know.
will make you
Everyone
happy,
who's
we
there
will
must
do
be
that.
accounted
Honourable
for.
Pambu,
Everyone
I
who's
have
there
not
must be accounted
recognised
for.
you.
I asked to be recognized.
I will recognise you now. What is your point of order?
Deputy Speaker, there mustn't be people in the House there who are not accounted for. You can't just say they're protectors. Who are they protecting? You don't know.
Pambu,
You are a presiding officer. You are the
Honourable
one who's in
Pambu,
charge
you
of
are
that
now
house. But
dealing
I'm
with a
making my
matter
point.
on which I have now already expressed myself.
Yeah, but we're
Could I
putting
please
a point of
ask the
order
Chief
on
Whip
you.
of the EFF to instruct your members on the actual
No,
rules?
you can't tell
of
our
the-
Chief Whip
Honourable
to
Pambu,
instruct
I am
me.
now
The Chief
cautioning
Whip will
you,
instruct me.
Honourable Pambu.
Point of order, Speaker.
Makula.
Point of
Honourable
order, Speaker.
Makula. Honourable Malema, your member is on the floor.
Thanks, Deputy Chair. Mina ngisuka eNanda, angigadwe emuntu. What about yena? Nani kusho ukuthi angize nama-protector ami kabazongigada la?
Honourable Makula, I have already ruled on this matter. I do not entertain further discussions. Honourable Makula, we will now proceed. I will obtain the information whether it is indeed the Deputy President's protectors or the President's protectors. Honourable Paulson, I have ruled on this matter. Honourable Makula, Honourable Makula. Order.
The President's hand have been up. Please
Honourable
recognize the President of the EFF.
Honourable Tlangwini, I have not recognised you. We will now proceed with the next question. Question number 11 has been asked by the Honourable...
I said point of order and you said you recognize me.
Honourable Malema, what is your point of order? Is it a new point of order?
Why? Let me speak. Don't ask me if it's a new point of order or not.
Yes, I may ask you whether it's a new point of order. You don't have a speaking
Rule on
opportunity.
it. Allow me to speak. You are not going to do that thing of marshalling us as if you are marshalling your gardeners. You are
Honourable
not your gardeners.
Malema, I am
Listen
cautioning
to
you.
me, kids. I want to speak.
No,
Listen to me.
Honourable Malema, I will not listen to you if it is not a point of order or a point of privilege.
I said
you know
point
the
of
rules.
order.
Honourable
I said point
Malema,
of order.
I am...
Point of order.
Good. What is your point of order? Refer me to the rule.
The point of order is you can't say the president has got a right and a prerogative to answer the questions the way he likes. It's like he doesn't have such a prerogative. He's duty bound to answer questions to the satisfaction of the members of Parliament. Because this is not just passing time session. That's where we're going to get proper, real, legitimate answers. So if honorable member says the president has not answered my question, you cannot answer that for president. President must decide whether he has answered that question or he thinks he can do much better. You can't say he's got a prerogative he doesn't have.
Malema, if you can point me to the exact rule and wording that states that it must be to the satisfaction and liking of the member, I could consider it. But at this point, you did not, and there is no such specific recommendation in the rules or stipulation, we will now proceed. And Honourable Malema,
No,
I have
but-
now dealt.
no, no.
Honourable
Speaker.
Malema, I have now dealt with the matter.
Yeah, you must also refer me to the rule that says he's got a prerogative. Why do you want people to show the rule and you don't show
Honourable
the rule? Well,
Malema,
equally,
I have now ruled on
you
this
are-
matter.
You are an elected person like all of us.
Honourable Malema, I'm cautioning you. You will be removed.
You can't question me. I'm removed already. What do you mean you can? you are going to
Honourable
question?
Malema, I am now going to remove you
You've
from
been
the platform.
bullying
Table
EFF
staff,
here
if you
with
can
your
please
racism.
remove the Honourable
Huh?
Malema from
Your
the
white made
platform.
them bullying the EFF. You think your whiteness gives you?
On a point of order, Speaker, Deputy Speaker.
Honourable Pambu, I have not
On a
recognised
point
you.
of
We
order,
will now
Deputy Speaker.
proceed. Honourable Pambu, I will
I'm
not
ra-
recognise you now.
I'm
We
raising
have
my
dealt
hand. I'm
with this
raising
matter.
a point of order.
We have been
Honourable
raising our
Pambu,
hands
we will
here.
now, and Honourable Ntlangwini, I'm cautioning you now. We will now
Point of
remove
order,
you from the
Deputy Speaker.
platform.
Deputy Speaker, order.
What is your
Can
point,
you please
Honourable
bring
Member?
back the president? Why are you removing the president? He was still on the podium. Please
I have removed him
bring back the
because
president.
I've cautioned
Please.
him.
What you are
And
doing is wrong. This is not your
please
house.
remove
Please.
that member on the
You can't
Honourable
just do as you
Shikawa.
please.
Honourable members, we can continue and you will all be removed. Honourable Mente, what is your point of order?
Speaker, you have started again with your unfairness. We took this matter of you, and it was particularly you that said a minister here has a prerogative, and we took that matter to the rules. We deliberated on it for the whole night. We left here early hours of the morning talking about that, and we said it must never happen again. It's still happening, and you are saying people have got prerogative. There is no such a thing. We took it to the Rules Committee. I'm a member of Rules. We deliberated on that, and we said it must not. Members of the executive, including the president, they must account, they must answer questions as they are asked. Because the next thing the president can stand up and say, I don't want to answer. And you're going to say, he has answered, he doesn't want to.
No.
If the member says a specific matter has not been dealt with, that specific matter must be dealt with to the satisfaction of the member, because we represent the people here.
Thank you,
We
Honourable
don't
Mente.
represent
You have
ourselves.
made your point. Honourable Skosana.
Yeah, no, thank you very much.
On a
Deputy
point of order,
Honourable
Deputy Speaker,
Ntlangwini, there is someone on the floor.
I've been raising a point of order even before
Honourable
him, and you
Ntlangwini, I have not
recognized him
recognised
before
you.
me.
Honourable Sposkana, please proceed.
Yeah, no, Deputy
such a
Speaker,
bully.
we acknowledge the matter that is raised by Honourable Mente. However, the rules in their current form, they don't stipulate that, as you correctly indicated earlier, that there's no section when you requested Honourable Malema to refer you to the specific section and clause that says a minister or a president or a deputy must answer to the satisfaction of the member. So we don't have that in the rules. As much as the rules committee debated the matter, but the rules have not been amended. So we're using the rules in their current form. So that matter doesn't stand. Deputy Speaker, thank you.
Indeed. Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, I'm not going to entertain any more points of order. We will now proceed with the matters of the House.
On a point of order,
Honourable
Deputy Speaker, I
Ntlangwini,
have been.
What is
I
your
have been-
specific point of order?
I have been calling a point of order even before this member,
Now,
and you're
please
not going to
proceed.
tell me. You're not going to tell me how to speak, when to speak, and how to say it. What I want to say. One, there is members have been pointing out there's protectors in the house with firearms. You don't even stop the house and let those protectors be removed. So you have now opened the house to say that protectors can come in with their firearms. So why are we not stopping this house that all of us go and get our protectors and our firearms? Two, the president have not answered the question. He have not answered the question. He is running away with answers the whole afternoon, and you have been shielding him in holding him to account to answer questions. What is this that we are busy with?
Honourable Ntlangwini,
We are busy
thank
with
you very
question
much.
times to
Your
the
point
president.
has
It
been
has
made.
been
Honourable
scheduled for
Ntlangwini,
3 weeks in
your
advance.
point has now been
And
made. You are now making a whole
keeping the
speech.
president from
I'm now
not
recognising
answering
the Deputy
questions.
Chief Whip of
You are
the ANC.
bully. You want to keep and shield this man
On a
from
point
not
of order,
answering
Deputy Speaker.
questions.
Honourable
You
Ntlangwini.
are bullying the whole.
Honourable
all of
Ntlangwini,
the
I'm
members
cautioning you.
of the
Please
the
remove
whole
the Honourable
afternoon
Ntlangwini from the
bullying us.
platform.
Will not tolerate this bullying
Please
tactics
remove
of
the Honourable Ntlangwini from the platform. Honourable Lakude.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy
No,
Speaker.
no, 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 no. Deputy
Honourable
Speaker.
Pambu,
Tangwini can.
I am
No,
now
no, no. But
cautioning
I've
you,
raised
Honourable
my
Pambu.
hand. No, no.
This is now
No,
the
no.
third
But
time that
Deputy
you
Speaker.
are not
Deputy
recognised.
Speaker. I
Please
have
remove the
raised
Honourable
my
Pambu
hand. You
from
are
the
recognizing
platform.
people before me. What?
Please remove the Honourable Pambu. Yes, Honourable Lakude.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I want you to invoke Rule 69, gross disorderly conduct. Rule 69 says members may not engage in grossly disorderly conduct in the House and its forums, including deliberately creating serious disorder or disruption. This is what is currently happening in the House. There are members who keep on disrupting, not even acknowledging your rulings. So if the members are not happy with the responses by the President or your rulings, they know what to do. They must write to the Rules Committee. That's where these decisions will be taken. The rules at its current form, we don't have any rule that specifies that you must force a response that will satisfy anyone. So we are currently using edition 9 of the rules. Thank you very much, Honorable Dis.
Thank you, Honourable Lakude. Honourable Member there.
Deputy Speaker.
Honourable Member, I have another member. Honourable Dlamini, I have another member on the floor.
Please recognize me after that member.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. On the issues of the protectors, you already made a ruling that you decide on the demarcation in the future. So that matter should not arise, so your decision must be respected.
Thank you, but I have already ruled on that matter. Honourable members, I am not now recognising any further points. Honourable Dlamini, I am not recognising you. You are, as the Honourable Lakude has indicated, very close to falling foul of Rule 69, and we will now proceed. Please remove the Honourable Dlamini from the platform.
Honourable Speaker, recognize members of the EFF. It's very wrong what you are doing, Honourable Speaker.
Honourable members of the
Can you
EFF.
please recognize members of the EFF?
Don't call us members of the
recognize
EFF.
members of the
Honourable member,
EFF.
I have now
It's wrong what you are
dealt-
doing.
Honourable
You are
member,
members of
wrong.
Parliament
It's
of the
Honourable member,
Republic
I
of
am
South
now
Africa.
cautioning you.
Recognize members of the EFF.
Honourable member, please. Honourable members, I am not recognising any more members because these matters are now very much in line of gross orderly misconduct. Honourable members of the EFF, I have now ruled I am not going to entertain these matters any further. We will now proceed with the right of members who have submitted questions, and what you do not understand, or perhaps not realise, that there's a limited time to the questions that can be asked. You have another question that has to be asked. It will not be asked in time because you are wasting time. You are now going to not allow one of your members or be prejudiced one of your members not to be able to ask the question that they want to ask. So please take that into consideration. We will go up to 5 o'clock, and that is in terms of the rules. Honourable member, I will not recognise you now. I have now ruled.
Speaker,
And it is
please
time that you do
recognize us.
respect the House.
Please recognize me, Speaker.
I have said, Honourable Member, I am not recognising any points now. We will now proceed with the business of the House.
Speaker,
Please remove the
Speaker,
Honourable
Deputy
recognize
Speaker,
us.
please recognize me.
Please remove the
Deputy
Honourable
Speaker, please
Lola. You
recognize
are now
us.
disrupting the House.
Recognize us, Speaker.
Please remove the Honourable Lola.
Yo, Deputy Speaker.
Honorable Deputy
Please remove the Honourable Mokwele.
But Speaker, why are you removing our
Please
members,
remove the
Speaker?
Honourable Lola.
Why are you removing Honorable Mailula? Is it
Because
against the
they
rules
are
to raise on a
now
point of order?
in contempt of the chair. And I will then remove you. Honourable Member, you are now in contempt. I have said I do not recognise any points of order now. You also, Member. We will now proceed.
Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker.
Point of order, Deputy Speaker. This is
Honourable
the
Member,
chief
we
whip
will
of the
go
EFF.
through all of you because
Can
you
you
are now
recognize
in
me, please?
contempt.
Deputy Speaker, I'm raising on a Deputy
point
Speaker.
of privilege, please.
Deputy Speaker, can you recognize me,
Honourable
please?
members, you will now be removed from the platform. You are now impeding in the work
Deputy
and the
Speaker,
rights
can
of
you
all the other
recognize me,
members.
please?
No, I'm not recognizing you. I have indicated that we will now proceed and you are now
But
in
it is wrong
contempt.
what you're doing, Deputy Speaker.
Honourable members,
Issues
you can
have been
take that
raised
to
here.
the Rules
You
Committee.
have people that are not known in
Honourable
the House.
members, table, please remove Alderman.
Deputy Speaker,
No,
how do you
Speaker,
remove the
that is
chief from the
illegal.
EFF?
You are removing the
You are not going to do that.
You are
Speaker,
giving every member an opportunity.
You are not
Deputy
going to do
Speaker,
that.
You must give
Deputy
every
Speaker, we're trying to assist you. Let us assist
We
you.
will now
I'm raising on a
remove
point of
you.
privilege.
Honourable Nolachungu, we will now remove you from the
not the
platform.
dictator.
You're removing
No,
me
you
for
can't
Deputy
remove
This is
Speaker.
not your house.
Raising on a
Speaker,
point of privilege.
this is not your house.
I'm raising on a point of privilege, Deputy Speaker. It's not
You
a
are
point
not
of
a
order. I'm
dictator.
raising a point of privilege, please.
We are not going to allow you to
office.
turn
This
this
is not
house into a
Oval Office yet.
dictatorship.
Honourable
Deputy
Leklapi,
Speaker.
you
We
will
are
now
not
be
going to
removed
allow
from
you
the
to turn this
platform.
house into a
Deputy
dictatorship.
Speaker. No.
It's very wrong what you are doing, Speaker.
Honourable Mente, I am not
It's
now
wrong
taking
what you are
any
doing,
points of order.
Speaker.
Please remove those
We are
members from
calling
the
order on
platform.
you.
You are removing me
Order
for what?
on
For
you,
raising
Speaker.
a point of
Order on
privilege.
you.
Please, not me.
It's very
You
wrong
can't
what you are
remove
doing.
also the whip of the EFF. You've just removed
is losing
Honourable
support.
will now be
of the
removed from
EFF
the
is
and you are
losing
trying
support
to
because of your
shut
chaotic
up, you.
behavior.
Shut up, nonsense. You shut up.
We're not Dagmo. You think we're
Honourable
in a
members.
class?
Why
are you losing
support when ANC? Deputy Speaker.
Honourable members of the EFF.
This is how they behave.
Honourable
You are abusing your power, Speaker.
Honourable Letsie.
You are abusing your
Honourable
powers, Speaker. We are
Montwedi.
calling order on you. You are abusing your powers.
Honourable
You are
member.
targeting members
Honourable
of the
member.
EFF. You are targeting members of the EFF here. It's very wrong what you are doing, Speaker. We are not going to allow you. We are not going to allow you to do that. It's not a dictatorship here. It's not a dictatorship.
That's why the
you
EFF
said
is
you are
losing
going to tell us
support.
who are they protecting. I've been waiting.
EFF is losing support because of
Honourable
your
members,
behavior.
we will now proceed.
Speaker, you said you're going to get back to
Honourable
us.
Niaus, I have said that I will not take any further points of order.
You can't tell us not to.
You are not going to make up your own rules here.
Those
You can't
protectors
tell us
must
not to
go.
make
You are
Honourable
They are there.
Leklapi, you will
not
now be
going to allow
removed.
you to make up your own rules.
Those protectors must go.
Honourable member.
We are not in a military state here. This is not a military.
Honourable member. Indeed, it is not. So please stop behaving as if it is like that. Honourable member, please leave the chamber.
No more. You are abusing your powers.
Speaker.
I've been raising my hand
for the past 10 minutes.
For
the past 10 minutes, I've been raising my hand.
You are abusing your powers.
Can I be recognized, please?
Honourable Mokhale, please leave the chamber.
I'm not going.
Sergeant at Arms, please assist the Honourable Mokhale to leave the chamber.
Speaker.
Please.
Speaker, you said you are going to get back to us in terms of who are these people protecting. You are the one who said that.
Honourable
You have
member.
not done so.
Honourable member, at what point did I have time to do that with you taking points of order every time?
Please find out. We want to know
Honourable
who are they
member.
protecting.
But would you then allow me the time to do that? Well, thank you very much.
How
Why
long?
would you
After how
protect
long?
a toothless dog? Why would you do that?
Whilst I'm waiting for that reply, we will proceed. And please, Honourable Sergeant or Sergeant at Off, please remove the Honourable Mokhale. Thank you. We will now go to Honourable Chairman. No, I'm not taking any further points of order. You are now in contempt.
Deputy Speaker, can I speak?
Honourable Mokhale, you were supposed to be removed from the platform.
For what now?
Because I said no further points of order. Honourable Pambu, I have ruled no further points of order.
This is Honourable Tambo. House
Pambu,
Chairperson.
yes, sorry, my
Yes.
apologies. Pambu was on the platform. Yes, Honourable.
Yes,
Member.
thank you very much. I think we must register our displeasure, number one, on the presence of security personnel here, which you said you'll get back to us about, and you are not doing so. You are removing members one by one. That's the first point. They are not democratically elected to be here. And if the president feels unsafe with his own colleagues, why is he sitting on that podium? Why doesn't he address us virtually? Because we were elected with him in the 2024 elections. He's bringing protectors here to protect him from whom? It's grossly disorderly. It's not representative of a democracy that is peaceful, that has political tolerance. That reflects him fearing us as political parties. So why is he continuing to do that? Those protectors must leave the House. And the second thing, Speaker, your conduct today reminds us of Baleke Mbete, reminds us of the one who's in court now, Nosviwe Mapisa Ngakula. And speakers who have conducted themselves the way you've conducted themselves have been remembered badly by history. You are protecting misconduct. You are protecting irregular things in this parliament by having securities here sitting with us. Ask them to leave, or ask the president, who's their principal, to ask them to leave. We are not feeling safe or comfortable having people here who are not elected here. Ask them to leave, and we can proceed peacefully with the proceedings of this House.
Honourable Member, thank you. Honourable Members.
Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Honourable Members.
Speaker, on a point of order.
Honourable Member, I am on the floor. And you have now referred to the matter, Honourable Tambu, that at this point, that you now see the presiding officer as the same as other presiding officers. The fact of the matter is, Honourable Member, that this is about two-way respect. Whether you respect yourself, the House, the other members. You cannot not respect the House and expect of the presiding officer to ignore it. We have rules. So it is a two-way relationship. I have said earlier that I would, Honourable Makaula, you are now doing exactly what I'm talking about. I can't hear what you say because you're shouting. Honourable Members, I am on the floor.
Sorry,
I
Chair.
have said,
Get respect. Uyasithuka lo usamagwala.
Honourable Member,
Ngicela ukhulume naye.
I will deal with that matter now. I have, Honourable Chair.
Nathi sizoza-ke nabantu abazosigada la.
Honourable Nkola, I have said right when the matter was raised by the Honourable Paulson that I will inquire who the two gentlemen are. I have received a reply that that is indeed part of the gallery, although not clearly demarcated. Then there was, Honourable Paulson, then there was another question on whose protectors those are, which I will find out, but you do not give me the opportunity to do so, because you have points of order upon points of order to the fact, or to the point that you have now disrupted the House and we have 35 minutes left for two questions. So my apologies to the rest of the members who have submitted and prepared their questions, but we will not go beyond 5 o'clock, which is stated in the rules. Honourable Member, what is your point?
Deputy Speaker, the problem is that you keep going back on your undertaking not to entertain any further frivolous points of order.
But why are you speaking? Why are you speaking? Are you not undermining the Speaker's ruling yourself?
Honourable Member, Honourable Tambo, I did not recognise you, and please switch off your microphone.
He's complaining about...
Avenue, M11 South, who's been falsely accused of not answering the question. He's not being given that opportunity. I ask that you stick to your ruling
are you allowing
Rule 69
Why
as
are you
referenced by
allowing
Honourable Zakude.
Honourable Member, I have ruled on that. Honourable Members, I did not refer to those points of order. Honourable Makula, this is now enough. I did not refer to frivolous points of order. It was a matter that members were raising points of order based already on a ruling that I have made, which is against the rules. So that was my point, because it was going over and over on the same matter. Honourable Chairman, I'm not going to recognise you now. I am on the floor. We will now proceed. Honourable Kaula.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I've been waiting for you to recognize me.
Honourable Member, I cannot see who you are.
Ndicela unrecognize Deputy Speaker. Andingo Honorable Chiro, ndicela unrecognize. Ndicela ubuza into yokubana kutheni ukhupha ii-members ze-EFF phayana kwi-virtual platform bonke nabangathethanga abaphakamise izandla zabo abafuna uthetha wena uba recognize phayana. And kudala sikunike ixesha elininzi maybe iphelile i-hour apha sibuze uba ngobani abayana. For wena into yokokubana uthi akhange sikunike ixesha elaneleyo lokuba ukhangele into yokokubana ngobani abayana ayonyani leyo. So ke ngoku ndicela into yokokubana usixelele i-hour iphelile wena ukhangelana nabantu thina masihlale i-hour apha eParliament sihlale nabantu esingayaziyo uba ngobani kuba wena okokoko i-hour le uyabaza aba bantu ngobani na and uthi asizithathi ka serious.
You are now making a speech. I have removed those members. On the honourable member, you are now making a speech. Honourable member, Honourable Gilisha, I'm now cautioning you. Honourable Gilisha, I'm cautioning you, please leave the chamber. Honourable Gilisha, please leave the chamber. Honourable member, please leave the chamber. Honourable member.
Deputy Speaker, I'm still
Sergeant at
waiting for you
Arms,
to recognize
please
me.
remove the member, assist the member to leave the chamber.
Deputy
Honourable
Speaker, I'm
members,
still
you
waiting for you
are
to recognize
indeed
me.
now, my apologies on the platform, but your own members are now interrupting you. Honourable Gilisha. I am not taking any points of order now because you are now going over the same matter. And no, Honourable Member, I have now ruled, Honourable Mente, I have now ruled, we will not proceed on this matter. I will get information whether those protectors are the presidents or the deputy presidents.
For how long? For how long, Chair? It should be a quick process. How long are we going to have unknown people? This is not a military state. Are we in a war here that the president must be protected? Are we in a
Let's
war?
remove people who are speaking without.
That's not also a rally.
It's not also a rally.
What is the president scared of? Are we in a war here?
Shut up, you! Shut up, you!
President, what are you scared of? What are you scared of?
Are you all contesting to be Julia's deputy, Lonzi?
Is this a military
Why are you
state?
removing all our members from the platform?
But Speaker, I'm still waiting for you to recognize me.
You are abusing your powers.
Speaker, I'm still waiting for you to recognize me.
Honourable Lonzi.
I've been
You're
raising
also
my hand.
abusing us.
I'm waiting for you, Deputy Speaker, to recognize me. My hand has been up for almost an hour.
Fighter Lonzi.
Deputy Speaker, if you are unable to preside over this meeting,
Honourable
maybe you might
members,
vacate the chair and give it to someone
Honourable
else.
members
Because
on
we've
the
been raising our
platform,
hands here. You don't want to recognize
you are
us.
now interrupting the proceedings, and I am therefore ruling that you will all now be removed from the platform. So
Who is
that
on?
proceedings
Speaker, I'm
can
asking for you to recognize me.
proceed.
That's all I'm saying.
My
I'm asking for you
reply
to
to the
recognize me.
question on the protectors. Honourable Mente, would you give me the opportunity to reply on the protectors? Thank you so much. Honourable members, we will now proceed. Honourable Mente, we will now proceed.
No, Deputy Speaker, you have removed Mushala, Mkondo, Matulelwa, and other members of the EFF that have not spoken, that have not unmuted themselves without you recognizing them. And you now just said you are going to remove everyone on the platform. There's no such a rule, and that is wrong. Please allow all the members of the EFF back on that virtual platform because they did not say anything. Please allow them back. They need to participate.
Honourable Member, my
Yes.
apologies. I said that they will be, I wanted to say they would be muted. That is to keep the House in order and to proceed.
No, but that is not also allowed. It's in the rules.
Then please take it
You
to the
allow
rules.
people to participate. If you
I
don't
am
feel like
now
they must speak,
muting
then
them.
you tell them that
I'm now
you are
muting
not
them.
going to
Honourable
allow them to
Tando,
speak.
we
But
will
you
now
can't just
proceed.
mute the
Honourable
platform.
Blackmore.
They might as well be.
A point of order.
But who recognized you,
and I want to
Comrade
quote-
Dagmo? Who recognized you? We have our hands up here to
I
want
have
to-
recognized him. I said, Honourable
want to
Dagmore, I
quote,
have not yet recognized him.
Rule
Speaker,
69,
Speaker, my
which
hand
our
has been up
Deputy
for half
Chief
an
Whip
hour. How do you
raised
just
before.
recognize someone?
Rule 69. Ndiyafuna ukuthi ihlazo le-EFF namhlanje, ihlazo. We do not need this kind of behavior in a parliament of the Republic of South Africa. And it's no wonder the EFF
Honourable
is
Dagmore.
losing support election by
Honourable
election.
Dagmore.
So I want
Can
to
I
ask
shut
for
up?
Rule
What
69
rule is that?
and that we have
What
an
rule is that?
investigation into this conduct which is bringing this House into a disgrace. That's all.
Honourable
Ihlazo,
Dagmore.
Nina.
Honourable Dagmore, you are not assisting. Honourable members, I will indeed refer this matter to the Speaker for referral to the powers and privileges for every member who was in contempt of the rules of this House, the procedures of this House, and the respect for the presiding officer. I will also refer it in terms of Rule 69, which is very specific and which the Powers and Privileges Act refers to. That will be done. We will now proceed. Honourable Tando,
Thank you.
we are now proceeding
Thank
because you
you.
are now interfering with other members' right to ask questions.
No, thank you, Deputy Chair. I think I'd like to first begin by expressing my appreciation for your ability to self-correct, because it means you have considered now that the presence of those strangers here was wrong. The challenge now that exists is that you removed members of parliament in defense of those strangers. Can we allow members of parliament who were raising the issue that we have now conceded to return to the House so we can return to the normal business of this state? They were removed in defense of those people.
Honourable
Those people
member,
are now
no.
gone.
Honourable
Can we have
member,
members of parliament return to the
no,
House?
I removed them because they showed contempt for the presiding officer. That is why they were removed. We will now proceed. Question 11 has been asked by the Honourable Modise Mpaya.
Speaker.
The question pertains to the President remarks during the official visit of the President of Ukraine to the Republic, wherein he expressed deep concerns about the continuing conflict in Ukraine that has led to the loss of civilian lives, damage to critical infrastructure, and the deteriorating humanitarian situation. And what practical diplomatic interventions will the Republic initiate within the multilateral fora to ensure the end of the conflict in Ukraine, and what engagements have been initiated with the Russian Federation to end the conflict? At last, Honourable President.
Speaker, we want to proceed, Speaker, but you said you're going to get back to us on who are those people protecting. That's all we're looking for, and then we can proceed.
My apologies, Mr. President. The one, as I said, was a protector of the President and one of the Deputy President. And now, may we proceed? Honourable President. Honourable President, no, Honourable Mente. Honourable Mente, you are now disrespecting the presiding officer. You are, and I'm now going to caution you because we are now proceeding with the business of this House. Honourable Member, I have just ruled on that I locked them out because of contempt for the chairperson or the presiding officer. Honourable Mente, we will now proceed. Honourable President.
Point of order, Deputy Speaker.
Honourable members, I have instructed that members
Deputy
on the
Speaker,
platform be muted.
Deputy Speaker.
Honourable members, I'm not entertaining any points of order. Honourable Mente, you are now in direct contempt of my ruling, and I will ask you to leave the House.
No.
Honourable
You must
Mente,
bring back the members you locked out because they asked who are those gentlemen.
Member Mente, I
You
have
just
now,
took those gentlemen out,
Honourable Mente,
confirming that we were
please.
correct. Yet our
Honourable Mente, I've said I have removed them because of contempt for the presiding officer. It is in the rules. Honourable Mente, please leave the chamber. Sergeant at Arms, please assist Honourable Mente. Honourable Member, what is your point? And may I also refer you to the rule that says that you may not intervene while a member is being removed from the House? I also want to caution the members of the ANC, please no comments. We will now proceed. The President. Honourable Makula.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, South Africa remains steadfast in its commitment of resolving the Russia-Ukraine conflict. We continue to advocate for the inclusion of both parties in initiatives that are aimed at ending the hostilities. We have, as South Africa, consistently urged the parties to engage in negotiations in a spirit of cooperation and compromise. Our government has emphasized, accompanied by goodwill actions that would be seen as confidence-building measures to facilitate de-escalation.
House Chair.
Honourable President, my apologies. What is your point of order, member?
The first problem, Chair, here is that I raised my hand and then you said to me, I cannot interrupt whilst a member is being removed from the House. I then said to you, no problem, I'm going to wait. And you said you're going to come back to me. And you did not come back to me. And you went back to the President. And that's what you've been doing with other members as well, even on the virtual platform, where you note members, you don't go back to them, and then you say they're in contempt of you, of the House. Or
Honourable Lonzi, I did not recognize you just before
you
President.
Did.
In fact, I replied to you and you were quite satisfied with the reply that I gave you. Honourable Lonzi, we will now proceed.
House Chair. Can you provide us with the list of these members that you are saying were in contempt? Because we have the strong view that your definition of contempt, based on this simple explanation I just gave you, is extremely flawed. And you are very impatient, Chair. I don't know why you are so impatient.
Honourable Lonzi, that is now not a point of order.
Can you please
Honourable Lonzi, if you do know the rules and if you do know the powers and privileges procedure, you will know that a list of names will be attached.
Attached to where?
To the charge. So, Honourable Lonzi, that is not a point of order. It is dismissed and we will now proceed. Honourable
Point of order, Chair. You say they're going to be attached to a list of charges. Which charges? Because you still have to refer the matter to the powers and privileges committee.
It will be in that letter to the Speaker.
But they are the ones who formulate charges. You are predetermining the process. Which charges are their names going to be attached to?
Honourable
the charges must be developed by the powers and privileges
member, that is not a point of order for now.
When you say attached to the charges, you...
Honourable Member, you are now also absolutely disrespecting the presiding officer. There will be a list of names attached to the letter to the Speaker, which might lead to charges. Honourable Lakude.
That's how you should have phrased it.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I think we need to be protected as members of Parliament. There are members who pose questions to the President and they are waiting for him to respond. I want you, Honourable Speaker, to invoke Rule 69, which says, I'm reading the sub-rule now, members may not repeatedly undermining the authority of the presiding officer or repeatedly refusing to obey rulings of the presiding officer or repeatedly disrespecting and interrupting the presiding officer while the letter is addressing the House. With this sub-rule, Honourable Deputy Speaker, this is what we have been subjected to as members of Parliament by the two honourable members of the EFF. So we want to be protected And what I want to put on the table right now is that now is 16:42. 5 o'clock, the president will not go over 5 o'clock to keep on responding to questions. We cut off. Question time is 3 hours. That's all, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Lakudi. That is what I said a bit earlier, that you are now infringing on the rights of other members who have submitted questions. And you are quite correct, as I've also said, this matter will be referred in terms of Rule 69 to the Speaker for referral to the Powers and Privileges Committee. Honourable President, please proceed.
As you wish, Honourable Deputy Speaker. As I was saying, we continue to call for an unconditional ceasefire, which will help to facilitate the de-escalation of the conflict that is taking place and initiate a genuine process of dialogue and negotiation amongst the parties. And South Africa calls on the parties to adhere to the principles of the United Nations Charter, including the peaceful resolution of conflicts and respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of states. We are deeply concerned about the impact of the Russia-Ukraine conflict across many parts of the world. We support initiatives that ensure that food and energy security for African countries is secured or implemented or embarked upon, as well as the safeguard of global supply chains. South Africa will continue to actively participate in all initiatives, including the Africa Peace Initiative that took us to Ukraine and Russia, and also the joint group of Friends of Peace to support a negotiated and peaceful settlement of the conflict. Engagements with the presidents of Russia and Ukraine have occurred and continue to occur on several occasions, both in person as well as via telephone. In-person meetings with President Putin include the Africa Peace Initiative, meeting which took place in the 16th of June in 2023 in St. Petersburg, and a bilateral meeting on the margins of the BRICS summit in Kazan in Russia on the 22nd of October.
Just a quick one, Chair. It's for your
There
assistance.
isn't
as
something like a quick one. Honourable Lonzi, I did not recognise you.
Chair.
What is your point of order?
Oh,
What
it's,
rule?
it's in a very constructive manner. Can you keep quiet?
Honourable Lonzi.
Chair, the people on the virtual platform are muted, all of them. So can they be unmuted so that they can be able to participate in this session? I'm not disrupting.
Honourable Lonzi,
all of them are muted.
Honourable Lonzi,
including those who are not removed.
Honourable Member, if they are on the platform, they can still raise their hands. They don't have to switch on their microphones. Honourable Beasley.
Thanks, Deputy Speaker. The people deserve better than this Parliament, Speaker. There are so many people unemployed at the moment looking at these people and they're saying this is absolutely chaos. It's chaos. People deserve better. People deserve to hear from the President. He's got valid questions to ask. 500 people are losing their jobs every hour. It is unacceptable.
Thank you, Honourable Beasley. The point is taken. Honourable Member, I'm not going to take any further points.
Deputy Speaker, when he refers to these people, who is he talking about?
Honourable,
he said these people. Who are these people he's talking about?
Honourable Skosana, what is your point?
Yeah, Honourable Speaker, my point is that you have made a ruling several times on this matter. Can you please allow the President to respond and don't entertain any hand that will be raised, either in the House or in the visual platform? Clear that members are raising frivolous points of order just to interrupt the President.
Honourable Skosana, no, I know, and I've ruled on that. But there are members who show absolute contempt for the presiding officer and that is why they will be referred to the powers, to the Speaker for referral to the Powers and Privileges Committee. Honourable Paulson, is that if that is not a real point of order, I will also ask you to leave the chamber.
Speaker, with all due respect, Speaker, a point of clarity. The member said these people. I know what these people mean. I know how racists like to refer to black people as these people. So I want him to clarify what these people. What?
Honourable Paulson,
Sit down for what?
Honourable Paulson, you speak through the Speaker, and I will have to consult the Hansard. So you're not going to go into a discussion or argument with a specific member. It is a point of order that is raised to the presiding officer, and I will then deal with it. Honourable President, please proceed. Honourable Kaula. Honourable Member. Honourable Member. Order. Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I was referring to the various engagements we've had with the leaders of the two countries through face-to-face meetings, telephone conversations, and engaging.
Point of order, House Chair.
Honourable Lonzi, I am now cautioning you. You are now raising frivolous points of order, and I'm going to ask you to leave the chamber because you are interrupting proceedings.
No,
Please
no,
leave
Speaker.
the chamber, Honourable Lonzi. You are now interrupting business of this House. Please leave the chamber.
Chair, you don't know what I want to say.
I am now
It's on a
ruling
very
because
separate
you are
matter from this one.
You are interrupting proceedings now. You are frivolous. Honourable Paulson, I will also rule that you leave the chamber.
It's on a separate matter.
Honourable Lonzi, I have now ruled.
What are you ruling on? Because you don't know what I have to say.
I have now ruled because I said no points of order. We allow the President to continue with his question.
You can't rule that there will
Honourable
never be
Lonzi,
point
please
of
leave
order.
the chamber.
Which rule are you referring to, Chair? Because I'm
Sergeant
saying I'm raising a
at arms,
separate
please,
point.
Please assist the Honourable Lonzi.
I'm not repeating this point. I'm raising a separate point.
Sergeant at arms, please remove
I'm raising
the
a separate
honourable-
point here, Chair.
I have ruled no points of order while the President is now completing
You're very
his
impatient
answer.
today. I don't know why.
Honourable Lonzi. Honourable Paulson, you should know the rules that you may not interrupt while a member is being removed from the chamber. I am now ruling that there will be no points of order. We have exactly 10 minutes left. You are now seriously disrupting procedures. Honourable Paulson, I have now ruled. Honourable Paulson, I have now ruled. Honourable President, please proceed with the answer.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I was saying that we've continued to have engagements with the leaders of the two countries, Russia and Ukraine. And I must say that the engagements have been meaningful, and we've had deep conversations about the whole process of peacemaking. And we remain hopeful that the conflict will be settled and that there will be an unconditional ceasefire and that peace will return to that part of the world. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Thank you.
First supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Modise Mpaya.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Mr. President, I nearly missed an opportunity to ask you this supplementary question. Recognizing the Republic's long-standing commitment to non-alignment and peaceful conflict resolution, and given the complex geopolitical dynamics surrounding the Russia and Ukraine conflict, could you share with the House how South Africa is positioning its diplomatic efforts to not only encourage dialogue between the two parties, but also to strengthen global trust in multilateralism, and what specific contributions or outcomes our nation hopes to advance through these engagements?
The Honourable President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. South Africa continues to implement its diplomatic or foreign policy, which seeks to ensure that we lay more emphasis on multilateralism and to strengthen the multilateral system, where we seek to see various nations participating together and working together to advance peace around the world and to promote human rights. We have been very strong in insisting that...
Deputy Speaker, ngenhlonipho, with your respect, please, my Deputy Speaker of Parliament.
I first have to recognize you, Honourable Makaula.
Yes.
And what is your point of order?
Ngiyabonga, yes. Bengisho ukuthi akethu uPresident ulale athi kuma kancane nje sasitshela ngezase Ukraine. Ngabe uthini ngalezi ingane zase Dalton ezu3 ezibulawe amabhunu egayisa ngemoto ethi
Honourable Makaula. Your point, Honourable Mkaula, I'm now cautioning you. I know you only have 5 minutes to wait before you go home, but I could make it a bit earlier. We will now proceed. Honourable President.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, I must tell you,
Deputy Speaker.
I feel...
Deputy Speaker.
I feel abused.
Deputy Speaker.
I really do feel
Honourable
abused.
members.
You didn't feel like that when Trump was abusing you in the White House. Why didn't you feel abused in the White House? You're abused by your own colleagues in South Africa.
I'm here to
They abused you in the White House. You come to call abuse here. It's wrong what you're doing, President.
Honourable President,
You were
my
abused with
apologies, but,
disinformation
there's
in the
a
White
clear
House. You
intention
accuse
to
us of
disrupt
abuse.
Proceedings this afternoon.
No,
Honourable
no,
Matiasi, you have just
no.
come in. Are you the enforcement? You have just arrived and now you have a point of order. What is your point of order?
Honourable Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker.
Please raise your point of order.
My point of order is, you forced me off the virtual line and you compelled me to get into the House physically. That's the embarrassment we have brought to this House. There's a number of members who are allowed to be physically in the House. But because of your own decision to...
Honourable Member, that is not relevant to the President's
relevant to the discussions
answer right now. Honourable Matiase. Honourable Matiase. The question about who embarrasses who is an open question. We will now proceed. I will not recognise your point of order. It is not a point of order. It is a matter of discussion. And you can write to the Speaker about this. Orders have already been given. Rulings have been given. I will not entertain any further points of order from you, either from you, Honourable Paulson. We have exactly 4 minutes left. Honourable President. Honourable Makula, please leave the chamber. Honourable Makula, please leave the chamber. Sergeant at Arms, please assist the Honourable Makula to leave the chamber.
Deputy Speaker.
Honourable President, we have 3 minutes left, so it will at most then just be this answer of you, and then we will have to adjourn the House for the day, but I will refer this to the Speaker for further action. Honourable Makula, we will refer this for further action because these questions have asked and members have a right to hear the President replying to these questions.
We can give the President another 1 hour.
You have now, in terms of the Powers and Privileges Act, as well as the rules, prevented members from doing their work. That is a serious legal infringement, which we will address. Honourable President, if you would like to conclude, that would be most appreciated. Thank you. Honourable Makula, please leave the House. Honourable Makula, leave the House.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. As I was saying, we continue to pursue our policy of strengthening the multilateral system and ensuring that through that multilateral system we are able to resolve conflicts around the world peacefully and through negotiation and peace-seeking processes, where we work together with various bodies of the United Nations and regional bodies around the world, on our continent and elsewhere. And it is to this end that we, as a number of African countries, pursued the process of installing peace.
Honourable Makula, Sergeant at Arms, please assist Honourable Makula out. Honourable Makula, you are now in serious contempt. Honourable Makula. Honourable Makula, please leave the chamber. My apologies, Honourable President. Please proceed.
In pursuit of executing our policies, we interact with key role players, either involved in conflicts or in various regional bodies around the world. And it is this that continues to inform our foreign policy, where we seek to continuously work in accordance with the United Nations Charter and indeed with the various charters of various continents in our world as we make interventions. So with that, Honourable Deputy Speaker, I'm able to confirm that South Africa pursues its peace-building processes on an ongoing basis and seeks to work with various regional bodies, particularly with the United Nations. And thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Honourable members, in terms of Rule 144, the total time allowed for replies has expired. I want to thank the Honourable President for his patience in trying to answer important questions that members have put. I also want to apologise to the members who have posed questions and who have now been denied answers. The outstanding questions or replies will be published and the Speaker will rule on what will happen next. I thank you, Honourable President.
History will note that this House descended in chaos because... Note that.
Honourable members,
Will not
please stand
escape
for the
from that
presiding
harsh
officer and the mace to leave the chamber. The House is now adjourned.